Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the PUDcast with Jason and Mike. I'm Jason.
And I'm Mike.
And we're coming to you from the PUDcave, located here in Game Swap in beautiful downtown Lincoln in the great state of North Carolina. Mikey, brother. Bro, what's going on today? God damn it.
Sunday morning, man.
God damn it, brother.
Cold Sunday morning.
Very cold. And, man, we've actually got something exceptionally special going on today, Mike. Because once again, we have a guest.
Yes, we do.
And, man, this one is, once again, extremely special. Dude, we actually got a professional in here today.
Yes.
Under the loosest interpretation of the word.
Well,
oh, no, this is a pretty loose interpretation.
Bro, yeah, the podcast is what's loose. No, man, I would like to introduce to the Puds out there and welcome to the PUDcave, Mike. A good friend of ours, from back in the day. An actual disc jockey, you know, who's actually in rock and roll radio, which is the theme of our show today.
Yes.
A good friend of mine, the Doctor of Love himself, Mr. Chris Reno Baker. Brother Chris, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah.
It's good to be here. I tell you what, the PUDcave is everything I expected it to be and more.
Just a little more.
I do feel a little underdressed because Pudsworth, he's rocking the tux.
He always
got
does
the ruffles and, man, looking sharp. And I hear I'm wearing a Penguins t-shirt.
Dude, I got my Johnny Cash t-shirt on, and Pudsworth, you don't have to do it. Bro, first of all, how you doing today, Puds? You doing all right, brother?
Profiling and styling.
Yes, sir, you are, man. You don't have to do this, man. You got the job. You got the job.
No, Chris is wearing a penguin shirt, and Pudsworth's dressed like a
As a
penguin.
penguin.
Yeah, so
It makes
So
sense,
there is a bit
man.
of a theme
It's
going
cold.
on there.
Yeah, brother.
it's cold as hell out there this morning, so yeah.
Me and Mike, bro, I think we missed a memo, brother. We definitely missed a memo.
No, I'm straight out. What are you talking about? I'm straight out of church.
Yeah, you are looking pretty sharp today.
Yeah.
Everybody's in here looking sharp but me, man. Which is the fucking theme of the week, apparently. Puz, I've been hating on some people, man. Come to find out. I mean, I'm going to put it out there, man. Fuck it. I'm going to put it out there, man.
I shouldn't have said anything.
No, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did. No, man, there's a couple
Now
women-
listen. Now, not everything said on the podcast is representative
of all the Puz.
of all the puds on the show.
Man, I ain't going into too much. I'm just going to say, man, come to find out, a couple ladies that I've known in the past who are very attractive women. I've always had little crushes here and there. I'm not going to lie. Man, they both have split up from the guys they were with, and they're dating fucking geeks, man. They're both dating fucking geeks. And I can't get laid in a fucking hen house. And these motherfuckers, all right, man, I'm done. Chris Baker, I want to tell you
All I've
about
got
you.
to say is, quote of the day, I'd hit that shit better.
That's
Hey,
Jason Finger at P.O. Box.
I like your idea about getting that shit on
Should
a
be on a
t-shirt.
t-shirt,
Yes.
Yeah.
You heard it here first on the podcast. Order yours today.
Yeah.
But Chris, I tell you, man, I'm going to get off my haterade here. Because y'all, you Puds out there, I've been drinking that shit hardcore. I mean, I'm talking funneling straight up
Oh, yeah,
haterade
it
for like the
was.
last
It was-
15 minutes, man. Damn, man. I'm talking taking a bath in that shit. But let's switch it around a little bit, man. I want to talk about Mr. Chris Baker.
Yes.
Reno, I want to talk about you, brother. Why don't you tell the Puds out there a little about yourself, where you work, you know, what you do, and, you know, kind of give a little background, if you don't mind.
Well, I actually got my start in radio here in North Carolina. Of course, I'm from Pennsylvania, but spent about 10 years down here, and was a part of probably one of the most fun times I've ever had on radio. The Rock Shop Saturday afternoon-ish evening
Was
with
it 12 to 4, I believe?
something like that.
Or was
It's
it
all
about
kind
4
of
to-
hazy
I
right now.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say- actually, I think we were 4 to 8.
Yeah, I think you're
We
right.
were
4 to 8, and then it
yeah.
was the Blues After Hour.
Yes,
With
yes.
with
Willie.
Neckbone.
That's
Yeah,
right,
after
Willie
us.
Johnson, man,
Yep.
that's right.
Now tell everybody what this was on.
Oh, this was on WSGE, Gaston College Radio, 91.7. And as Dr. Love alluded to, this isn't the first time me and you broadcast together.
Exactly. We
First time in a couple decades.
yeah, well, yeah, a couple decades easy. I can't remember because I started out the show by myself
Yes,
and
yes.
was really trying to find it, and then you came to me at a party, and
No way, right?
there may have been a little drinking
A
involved,
little bit.
but
No way, right?
we may have been sipping on gin and juice, a la Snoop Dogg style.
It was that time. It was that
Yeah,
time.
exactly.
Yeah.
But you came to me and asked if I wanted a co-host, and I said, hell yeah, I want to co-host. You know, those shows are always more fun. So you came on board, and the show really kind of found itself, and had a hell of a time.
Brother, I'm going to be honest with you, Baker. That is truly some of the best times of my life, man. I've been very blessed in my life to say there's been several chapters in my life that have been just tremendous and fun. And being on the radio with you is absolutely on top of that, man, because, brother, I'm not trying to brag, but we know what we were doing, man. We had a good routine going on.
Yeah, I was going to say, we were rocking it out and had lots of callers. I remember,
dude, yeah.
I remember one time, I don't know if you remember this, we were on the air griping about how we were hungry.
And that lady called?
That lady called,
yes!
Dude,
You know.
Dude.
She was like, I can make you guys a salad. if you bring a cucumber.
No shit, swear to God.
And I'm like, Jason, she wants the D.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, she's a little old lady. She just wants to make us a salad. I'm like, no, I think she wants it, man.
No.
I think she was one, because I was trying to be, you know.
Yeah,
like,
you were trying to think the best of her. And
no.
Oh, she wanted a devil's triangle.
Yeah,
I don't
believe
think either one of us.
No, well, it'd have been different if we'd have maybe known what she looked like.
Well, yeah, of course it would.
But she's talking like this right here, you know. She's like, "Well, won't you boys come over? I'll make y'all a salad. Just bring me a cucumber." And I'm over here like, "No, man, there's nothing sketchy about that. No, she just wants to feed us." Oh, she wanted to feed us.
Yeah,
all
oh,
right.
yeah.
But that was one of those memories, man, that I'll never forget. Because me and you we tripped on one.
Wow.
And we continued to trip. Let me ask you this. And, Mike, I don't want to leave you out, man, because
No,
I'm afraid, man, that
no,
we might
no,
start getting
no.
into some of these conversations. But do you remember Spike and Tina? Do you remember?
Spike and Tina.
They were a couple that would call us.
Oh,
Do you know what I'm talking?
Yes.
Brother. It was a couple named Spike and Tina. So right there ought to tell you
All
something.
right,
Right?
all right. I'm into it. I'm into it.
They would call, man, and they were great. They were great fans. I mean, they were supportive,
yeah.
man. They were awesome. But, man, they would call, and they would just, you know, request songs for love songs for each other. But it'd be like power ballads like Heaven by
Right,
Warren.
right.
You know, just shit like that, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But it was just so funny, man, because, hey, this is Spike. I want to, you know, send out a dedication to my girl Tina. Warren, you know, this is Heaven or whatever, you know. Then,
Right.
hey, this is Tina. And I want to make a request, Bon Jovi, Bed of Roses, and I want to give it to my man Spike. And, brother, this shit would go on literally all fucking day.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they would just keep calling.
You know, Baker, I remember, man, when we really started hitting our stride and started kind of hitting our peak with it, we would have our show booked up with requests in like 30 minutes to an hour.
Easily.
Yeah.
Easily, man.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking a 4-hour show, and
Yeah.
we would literally be booked up, man.
Yeah.
And, but, you know, a little side note, Chris, you know, you talk about when I came to you to the party to ask if I could be, but I did that for 2 reasons, man. One, I was a huge fan of your show.
Mhm.
You know, we have very similar taste in music. You know, we're into
Oh,
like
yeah.
the hard rock, you know, heavy metal stuff, you know, especially like that 80s kind of hair.
Yeah.
You know, everything from like Warren and Bon Jovi to Dio and Iron Maiden, man. We loved all that stuff. And, you know, we had that in common. But another reason is because my other partner that I was working with was Two Dogs David Hayes on the Animal House.
All right.
And, bro,
That's
right.
I was so out of my element, man.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
wasn't into like Skinny Puppy and KMFDM that much. I like them. I do like
Yeah.
those groups. I
Yeah.
do. Don't get me wrong, man. But I was not. I wasn't very knowledgeable about those
Yeah.
kind of bands, the industrial, you know, gothic scene. And I was like, I think I would just do better on Baker's show because A, I know the material. And B, man, I just, you know, Dobbs was bringing on JJ at the time, and they were so
right.
into that stuff, man. And I was just such an odd man out. When I got with Baker, and Baker was gracious enough to allow me to come on to be his co-host, brother, it was like peanut butter and jelly.
Oh, yeah, it really, the show finally found itself, and it started to click.
And
Yeah.
I mean, it clicked hardcore, man. Dr. Love and the Werewolf, brother.
Oh,
You know?
yeah.
That was such good shit.
I
man.
know. At that time, there were a lot of great shows on. And a lot of us were all friends.
Right.
You know, you had Josh Stewart,
That's
Chris
right.
Stowe.
They were doing the sports on.
They were doing the Sports Zone, and they were doing Through the
Through
Ropes.
the ropes. That's right.
Two
Neckman.
guys.
Yeah.
Willie Neckmont, Two Dogs, and JJ were doing the Animal House,
Yes.
and Jay
What was Big Daddy J doing? Oh, man.
Jay Bradford was doing the
He had a show that was really jamming, but I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, man. I
can't
can't
remember
remember. And Pudsworth, there's no way to look this one up, brother.
no,
there's no way.
yeah,
Pudsworth's over
yeah.
here getting on the keyboard. I'm like, nah, man,
No,
save
this
your
is-
energy,
this-
brother.
This is all up here. Yeah.
So we're fucked, in other words.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God, that hurts me. I can't remember that.
I can't think of it either, man. Well, I know I used to do a classic rock show.
Okay.
And I had Classic Rock Sunday, and that was
Yeah.
how I started out. And, you know, Baker, it may have been a similar situation. I was by myself,
Yeah.
and that was fun, and it was great. I got to play the music I like, but, man, it was just something about having that co-host.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Somebody to kind of, you
Somebody
know,
to bounce things off of. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, sir, man. And that was just, I don't know why I quit doing the Sunday morning show. I think maybe they needed to open up the spot or something. I can't remember. But like I say, man, I went on to the Animal House after that, completely out of my element. Love the music. Got turned on to stuff I still listen to this day, but just not in my element, man. But like I said, when me and Baker hooked up, we teamed up, man. We brought the tag team championship back to Sunday or Saturday
That's
afternoons,
right.
man.
I think that was actually the first time I ever heard Werewolves of London.
It probably was, man. Yeah.
I'm almost positive it was, because I would have never listened to Warren Zevon had I not listened to the show.
Oh man, and I was, bro.
And I think y'all played it every week.
Oh, dude, absolutely.
Until I'm like, dude, we can't do this. You got to switch to Ozzy. Bark at the Moon.
We started barking the moon. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Yep.
We would actually kick off the show with calling Dr. Love by Kiss, and we'd end it with Bark at the Moon, man, for Dr. Love and the Werewolf. But I called myself the Werewolf after the Warren Zevon song. Oh, dude, I was huge, and I'm still a big, huge Warren Zevon fan. But back in that day, I was a little obsessed, man.
Just slightly.
A little bit. Even everybody's like, man, you need to do something about that. Even though the
He
Warren
still
Zevon
is.
fan,
We had a show. We had a show dedicated to Warren Zevon.
Well, what was so great, man, me and Baker were just talking about that show when we went to have breakfast this morning. I was like, yeah, man. I got to bring my friend Wayne Sisk. Shout out to Wayne Sisk on that one. And because I got to bring in the man who turned me onto it. So if y'all want to blame anybody, blame Wayne. Wayne's going to start getting that. That's Wayne Sisk, P.O. Box. But, yeah, man, that was some good stuff, Chris.
And as just a little side note, I know this doesn't have anything to do with radio, but that party that we went to, where you and I downed the better part of a bottle of Southern Gentleman gin.
Oh, that was Country Gentleman.
Country Gentleman.
Country
yes.
Gentleman. Oh, that was
And
at Smiley's
orange juice.
house.
And I ended up,
Oh.
I had some reheated McDonald's fries for lunch before that party,
Yes.
and I ended up throwing those things
Yes.
up in his bathroom sink. And
And Two Dogs had to unstop it.
yes, he did. I remember waking up
Wow.
and seeing him pull out a handful of.
Yeah, man, he did it with his bare hands, and
Yeah.
we were like,
That
"Oh, you
was
gross
gross.
motherfucker!"
He was. He was.
Dude, I got to give a little side story to that gin. This was when me and my friend Chris Schrontz, who was at that party, me and Schrontz don't see each other like we used to, man. We kind of gone our separate ways, but back in this day, man, we were inseparable, and we had both got unemployed at the same time. I forget how, man, but he got fired from his job, and I got fired from my job or something like that.
Which one was it? Which job?
I think now this is when I was going from Country Corner, and I was trying to get a job at Lowe's with Chris.
Oh,
Chris,
yeah,
Chris
yeah,
failed his
yeah.
drug test. That's why he got fired. And I didn't get hired because I failed mine.
Oh, okay. Right on. Right
Swear
on.
to God, man, true story.
Yeah.
Stronti was trying to get me on, and he was getting a promotion, and he was going to hire me. But before he got the promotion, he had to take a drug test, and I had to take a drug. And I did all the interview and all that shit, man, and we both failed our fucking drug
Yeah.
test.
Yeah.
So we found ourselves unemployed. It was a great time, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
we had fun. But swinging back around to the gin, bro, me and Stronci, being broke, being unemployed like we were, we literally scraped up quarters and dimes and nickels to get enough to buy a fifth, my friends out there, a fifth
That was the
of
thing.
cheap ass Country Gentleman gin. You might be asking or telling yourself, I've never heard of that. Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, there's a good reason for
There's
that.
a good reason, man. You can put that shit in your car.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I mean, and so me and Stronci started drinking on that. Baker shows up, have a drink. Well, man, the next thing I know, Chris Baker's dropping elbows on Smiley off the damn kitchen table. We were like, no, don't do it. Don't do it, man. And Baker just looked like the Macho
Oh,
Man.
Oh.
Somebody fell off the fence at that party. I think it might have been Smiley. I don't know if it was him or not, but somebody was sitting on the fence, and I just heard a big bam. And I turned around, and it's just a couple sneakers up in the air, a couple Nikes up in the air, and I don't know. They may have been Smiley's or they may have been somebody else's, but
He was always on the fence.
hey, dude. I just know, man, that it may have been him. I don't know if that was him. I just remember that, and I remember Baker coming off with the elbow, and I remember Two Dogs cleaning out all the vomit
Oh.
with his bare hands. So I was like, you dirty,
Oh.
nasty motherfucker.
Oh.
I was over here about to puke, man. I was like, oh, God, oh, God.
Oh.
But man, that was a fun night.
That was.
That was a fun night.
Very little I remember of it, but what I do was memorable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those are always the most memorable nights when you don't really remember.
Exactly.
And that wasn't the only one. That wasn't the only one.
No, it certainly wasn't.
Oh, I tell you, I cannot listen to a song One Headlight
Oh, without
thinking of
you, man.
you, Chris.
Swear to God.
I cannot.
That's a true story, man.
Yeah.
That is a true story. Because, man, you drove around with a, we're all getting Amber Alert.
I think
oh,
we're all.
shit, we're all.
Oh, yeah,
that's
I
been
got
going
that
on.
like
All right,
4:30
man.
in the
Yeah, I
morning in
got
my
mine
hotel
too,
room.
man.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
wow,
been-
man. Yeah, it's an Amber Alert, everybody.
Yeah.
All right. Hopefully
hate
everything
to-
will be okay.
yeah.
Don't know what's going on with that, but yeah, man. Hopefully it's not nothing too.
I know
too
they've
bad.
been kind of going off all morning.
Yeah. Yeah, I had one
Yeah.
this morning. Yeah, but well, anyway, guys. Hopefully the Amber Alert will be okay, and whatever situation's happening will hopefully get worked out.
Yeah.
And, you know, our best to whatever's going on. I don't know what's going on. I just know it's an
Yeah.
Amber Alert. I'm assuming it's a bad situation. So let's hope everything works out.
Yeah.
But well, Baker, let me ask you, man. You know, we were talking a little bit at breakfast, and it's like I was telling you, I couldn't think of a better way to ask a man to spend his vacation than to come to the PUDcave and talk about his job.
Yeah.
You know, so man, I've heard that working in radio is really, really glamorous, man.
It's glamorous about 0.05% of the time.
Rest of the time,
And the rest of the time, not so much.
Yeah.
No, it does have its moments, and there's some really cool aspects of it, but, you know, a lot of times it is a job, and
like anything else.
exactly like anything else.
So let me ask you, man, what's some of the highlights? Like what are some of those glamorous moments? I know you've got to meet some people.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've got to meet and do interviews with some of my my rock and roll idols. You know, I was big into Poison back in the day. I got to meet Bret Michaels.
Oh, cool.
Alice Cooper. I've got to meet him a couple times. Just you know, when you talk about icons in the music industry
yeah,
and the rock and roll world, they don't get much bigger than him. And
No.
just a super fantastic guy. I mean, just nice, down to earth. You see him after a show, and he's got the makeup still dripping,
Right.
and he's all beat and stuff like that. But just
Are you talking about Alice or Brett?
Hey,
Alice.
yeah, well, hey, fair question. That is a fair question.
These days, Brett's looking beat, and he doesn't even have to have a show. But yeah, Al's just a super gracious guy, and he'll sit there and talk to you, sign autographs. I mean, I had like one of the backstage passes on my shirt, and I gave him my ticket. He signed that. Next thing I know, he's like feeling me up, and he's signing the backstage pass. I'm like,
okay.
whoa.
Oh, that's cool.
So
though.
I got two autographs and Al's copped a feel. So
Hey,
Nice.
Hey, brother, if that ain't something to put on the resume,
Yeah,
you
good
know
with
what I'm
that.
saying? What have you done in your life? Well, I got groped by Alice Cooper. But, man, you're good. I mean, hell, I can't say that. You know?
bucket list check.
Yep.
No, man, that's amazing. Has there been any others out there that?
Yeah, you know, I've got to do some. I did a show called Big Hair Saturday Night for about 5 years, and that's, to me, in my recent radio career, that's been one of my highlights because it's the music that I love. It's the music I grew up with,
Yeah.
Right.
and it's a show that I kind of took from. You know, we had some other hosts do it, and they, you know, they tried their best. You know, we had one guy that is kind of more like designed for his vanity. Another guy just doing it because they asked him to do the show. But this was music I was passionate about,
Right.
and so I took it over, and I wanted to make it something big. So I started contacting record reps and see if I could get interviews, and I got to interview like Sebastian Bach,
Oh, cool.
which may or
That's
may
cool.
not have been high and or drunk during the whole interview.
Solid.
I'd probably be disappointed if he wasn't.
Yes, yes,
You know?
Yeah.
It really made for an interesting
Yeah.
interview. And the funny thing about that is, after I get done doing these interviews, I ask them if they'll do a liner for the show, and I tell them, hey, if you could do his Sebastian Bach, you're listening to Big Hair Saturday Night on what the station was at the time, and he couldn't remember it, and
Jesus.
and he wouldn't. It's like he wouldn't say what I was asking him to say. He's like, he wanted to say, "This is Sebastian Bach, and you're listening to the Big Reno in Pennsylvania or something like that." I was like, "No, that sounds ridiculous. Just say
Damn
what
it,
I'm telling you to."
Now, the motherfucker remembers the words to Rattlesnake Shake.
But, but how hard is that to say, like, no, you're doing it wrong to, like, Sebastian Bach?
Yeah, exactly.
Or, you know, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, how hard is that to do?
Oh yeah, I kept trying to politely guide him.
Let's
but
try that again.
At some point, at one point I'm like, yeah, that's great. Thanks, Sebastian.
Yeah, but can we try it one more time?
Yeah.
This way. Let's see.
Yeah, because I would be like, okay, yeah, that's cool. That's perfect. I'll
Yeah,
just use
really.
that. Yeah,
And it could be farting on the damn
Thank
tape.
you, thank you, thank you. Yeah,
Thank you, Mr. Bach. Yeah.
And the thing of it is it was probably I don't know if he remembered or not, but at that time I had 2 interviews set up. I was interviewing him, and I was interviewing Michael Sweet from Striper.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, right, right.
And somehow along the way, some wires got crossed, and I was supposed to call Michael Sweet at like 10 o'clock in the morning. He's here on the East Coast. Sebastian's on the West Coast. His interview was like 8 o'clock at night, our time.
Gotcha.
And I got they gave me the wrong numbers. They switched the numbers.
Oh,
So
no.
it's 10 o'clock in the morning here.
And you're calling Sebastian Bach.
And I'm phoning Sebastian Bach on the West Coast. It's like 7 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, shit.
And the phone rings, nobody answers. I'm like, okay, I'll give it a minute. I call back, phone rings, nobody answers. Okay, 3rd time, and all of a sudden I go, hello? And I'm like, hey, this is Reno from Big Air Saturday Night. I'm calling for Michael Sweet. Click.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, do you still have that number?
Yeah.
Hey, let's call him up. Let's call him
Exactly.
up. Wouldn't that be the shit? Hey,
Well,
that's the podcast.
Okay, let's stop right there. Let's talk about some Striper.
Okay.
Because I don't think Striper actually gets talked about enough.
I think they get talked about enough, man. Which is
See, I knew you were gonna go. I knew you were gonna go on that side.
I'm not a
Chris,
Striper
what did you
fan.
think about Striper?
Striper back in the day, it was what it was. I thought they were underrated because if you listen to them, and especially now, they are heavier or as heavy musically as any band out there.
Yes, absolutely. I thought. No, I'm telling you, Jason, that music, their music was just incredible. I loved it. I love listening. I still love listening to it to this day.
I mean,
until they kind of got away from, where
the roots.
Yeah.
that early '90s.
Yeah, against the
switch over.
law,
right?
Stuff like that.
I think a lot of those bands from that era kind of started losing their way at that time.
Yeah,
grunge
everyone
coming
was
out,
trying to be alternative,
right?
Right.
Cutting their hair,
Yeah, exactly.
and everything. It's like almost like Samson. A
Yeah.
lot of these bands when they cut their hair, they
Right.
lost their balls,
Exactly.
lost their strength.
Yeah.
Now to be in all fairness, man, I haven't listened to a lot of Striper. I mean, what little bit I was familiar with,
I think they get tagged too much as that Christian.
the Christian thing,
Christian metal band.
Yeah,
you know?
it's almost like it defines them.
Yeah.
And man, I'll be the first to admit that probably does have a lot to do with my prejudice, I guess,
Right.
towards Striper. It's just something, man. They always seem kind of hokey.
Well, yeah, you see these
know?
guys up there, and they've got the yellow and black stripes. It's like a
Yeah, they look like the Killer Bees from pro wrestling, man. They
exactly.
look like them
Fair
jumping
enough.
jacking or jumping
Jumping Jim Bronzell
Jumping
and-
Jim, yeah,
and,
B.
B. Brian Blair.
Yeah.
Iron Sheik's favorite band, by the way.
Fair enough. But everybody was
they were
everybody
huge.
at that time.
And they
you know?
were huge, man.
And they're still putting out music. I mean, I interviewed Michael Sweet a couple times, and they're still putting out music. And if you thought their music then was heavy, you should listen to them now. I mean, like I said, musically, the guitars just crunch, and I mean, it's heavy songs that they just think about God.
Yeah, right.
you know?
It's just a subject.
Yeah.
Man. Which is kind of funny, man, because I look back and, it's probably going to speak a little bit to my character, I guess. But a lot of my favorite bands, man, had that, like, satanic,
Slayer.
label. Well, I wasn't a huge Slayer fan. I've never really been a huge Slayer fan.
huge
I
on
like
Slayer.
Slayer.
At that same time, it was weird because I love Striper and I love
Love
Slayer.
Slayer. Completely
Yeah.
different,
And that's-
mentality.
That's the funny thing about Slayer is they're like most of them are like devout Catholics,
Oh, really?
and it's
I had no idea.
It's just kind of a gimmick.
No shit. I didn't
Like
know
Kiss
that.
and the Makeup.
Yeah.
Slayer kind of
The
puts
devil
out
worshiper?
that devil worshipping vibe, but yeah, like
I never knew that.
yeah, there's a couple and they're very devout Catholic.
I had no idea. Now, I was never a huge Slayer fan. I liked a few songs here and there. They were almost a little bit too heavy. They really did kind of go into that, like, well, slow down just a little bit.
Loved them.
But now when it came to, like, Dio, especially Dio.
Well, see, Dio was another one that was kind of marked as that kind of I guess you would even say devil worship.
so
yeah,
satanic.
satanic.
The occult and
Yes.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, especially
But
with this
he
subject matter.
obviously he wasn't. He was more to the Wicca.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
not-
and fantasy,
Yeah.
you know, like dragons and things like that,
Yeah.
you know. But, you know, he did the devil, or the horns. That was kind of his gimmick. So, you know, I think that had a lot to do with it. But, you know, man, it had that, whenever you had that kind of satanic label,
Yeah.
just something I was like, oh, man, I want to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Oh, yeah,
taboo.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
dangerous, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Dio, Iron Maiden, Ozzy, obviously,
Yeah.
Sabbath,
Yeah.
obviously, you know.
Well, even
Motley
like Motley
Crue.
Crue had
Right.
the pentagrams and the shout at the devil,
Yeah,
and-
absolutely.
which was originally like shout with the devil.
right.
Which they had to change
They had
it.
to change the
Yeah.
words or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it was just something about those bands that, you know, I just that's what I was drawn towards.
Yeah.
You know, like
Oh,
I said,
yeah.
I think it was the danger.
It was
Yeah,
dark
exactly.
and
You know.
it was just dangerous. You know.
Well,
and it
hell,
was-
man, they told you would commit suicide if you listen to Ozzy. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
no shit.
Or Judas
Yeah.
Priest. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Oh
know,
yeah.
no shit, man.
Yeah.
So I mean, as a kid who gets a little, you know, might be a little curious. Yeah, it's like, don't push this button.
Yeah.
Well, what the fuck's that kid gonna do? He's gonna push the fucking button. You know.
Well, then and the
But
funny
we
thing is,
didn't,
stuff
you
like
know.
that, like Suicide Solution, was an anti-suicide song.
It's about drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you take
Yes.
like Black Sabbath, you know, they sang a lot about stuff that sounded creepy and that sounded like the devil, but it was usually warnings against
Against it.
against
Political,
it,
yeah,
and
anything
people just never
political.
really listened to the
Yes.
lyrics.
I've always said, man, if you take Master of Reality and if you change the name of the band to something else, you would think that's a Christian rock album.
Oh yeah,
I mean, seriously, man, the subject matter in that album particularly is, I mean, every song has some sort of warning against Satanism
Yeah.
or being pro-God.
yeah, exactly.
Pro-love, man. And like I say, if you break down some of those lyrics, it's like, whoa, that's Ozzy.
Yeah.
Singing, singing these things, you know. But yeah, man, it's just amazing how that gimmick back in that day, though, just drew me into that
Yeah.
kind of music, you know. Just kind of, like I say, man, I've always been a little hard-headed anyway, man.
Yeah.
You know, I was always one of those kids, if you told me not to do something, well, shit,
That's
that'd be
right.
the first fucking thing I do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You're still that way.
Still that way, man. Hell, I'm just older now. It just
Yeah.
hurts more.
But yeah, they were able to stand out from everybody else. Obviously,
They
like
did.
you said, it was a gimmick. You know,
Yeah.
to they put themselves out there even further.
And you know, man, one thing about Stryper, you know, kind of to even expand on that, one thing you got to give them the credit for, dude, is they did this in a pretty hardcore environment that was against that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Oh,
you,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
In other words,
yeah.
you're
Yeah.
going to call yourself a Christian band. Well, man, you're on the outskirts immediately now.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You know, and you don't even have to be like pro quote unquote Satanism, man, but you're against, you know, you're like anti-drinking, you're anti-partying,
Yeah.
you're anti-sex. I mean,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, man, I mean, all these things that make, you know, rock and roll great.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But it is what it is, man.
Yeah,
You know.
But obviously, at the end of the day, what it comes down to is music.
That's it.
And you know, I thought they were just tremendous. I
Yeah.
loved them.
Oh yeah, Michael Sweet is. People don't realize that he plays a lot of the guitar.
Oh,
I mean,
really?
Oz Fox is the guitarist, but I mean, he does a lot of the solos and stuff. Like, guy's a fabulous singer, but he's also an amazing guitarist as well. Very, very talented band.
And one thing I'll say, man, he is a great vocalist.
Yes.
I mean,
Oh,
without
my
a doubt. I mean, the
gosh.
band is
Yeah,
talented, man.
yeah.
Do not
Yeah.
misunderstand me.
Yeah.
I just wasn't the biggest fan, but to say, you know, that they're not a talented band would be just ridiculous, man. Yeah, they're absolutely a great band. Let me ask you guys about an old school, well, I don't know if you would actually say a band, but he was definitely the front man of a band who I didn't know was actually pretty damn near a musical genius, and that's Kip Winger. Were y'all aware of this?
Yes.
Did you, man, he's doing like symphonies and shit now.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the guy who brought
I'm
us
gonna have to
17.
step back from this one.
Oh, I did not like Winger. Don't misunderstand me, man. But just kind of talking about like how we're talking about Michael Sweet being into
Yeah.
other, you know, avenues. Same thing with Kip Winger, dude.
Yeah.
Like he's doing like symphonies
Well,
and
the,
shit like
the
that.
guy's
I
a
was like,
fantastic bassist. I mean,
yeah, he is,
he
man.
was playing bass for Alice Cooper,
right,
and other places,
Right.
other acts before Winger came along,
Exactly.
and then of course Winger comes along, and it really, I mean, the music was kind of softer, poppy.
Poppy.
She's 17, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
And he had the whiteest smile.
Yeah.
You know?
But
The
really,
This, this was Bon Jovi light,
Yeah.
Yes. This was Bon Jovi for the 14-year-old kids. You know?
or
He did not-
17-year-olds.
Well, oh, man.
You're welcome.
Jesus.
You're welcome.
This is where we did that sampler we've been talking about. We did that toilet flush.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh man. But yeah.
Yeah, Kip Winger.
Yeah, no, he's a. I actually got to interview him for one of their latest albums, and and if you listen to their stuff now, you know, they're doing a lot of like almost prog rock things,
okay.
really interesting time signatures, and then of course he's doing the classical music thing, which what he's getting winning Grammys or nominated for Grammys. That never happened with Winger.
Yes.
Really?
But
That's what I was. Yeah, that was kind of why I brought it up, because I mean he's got a lot of success doing this, man.
Well, that's when he first started out. That's what he started, and he went to school for classical music.
I didn't know
and
that.
Yeah, exactly. He got to start in classical music, and then got into rock, and then is now kind of making his way back full circle.
I mean, anybody that was in Alice Cooper's band, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to give their props, man.
Exactly.
I mean, whether he's got the whitest smile in L.A. or not, man, you know.
And posing for Playgirl didn't help him
Oh,
either. Yeah.
no, man.
That's right, he
Yeah,
did, didn't he?
I forgot about that.
All the dudes are like, okay,
Yeah. That's enough. That's enough.
Oh my God! I
He sure did.
Yeah,
didn't he?
sure did.
God almighty. Yeah,
That
Pudsworth,
might-
do you still have that issue? I know you had it at one time.
No. Zing.
Damn it, Pudsworth. Yeah. Change the subject. Change the subject.
All right.
Oh, man. Well, Baker, let me ask you, man, since the theme of today's show is rock and roll radio, what, and I know you work in the field, so
Yeah.
I don't want to, I don't want to put you in a corner here or anything, but what's your, I guess, what's your outlook on the current state of rock and roll radio, man?
Well, to me, rock and roll radio, I mean, it's still there. It's still alive. Radio's still, I mean, in this age of streaming and satellite and stuff like that, it's still one of the most viable mediums just because it's free.
Right.
I mean, you're not paying a subscription for it. So people are still, I mean, that's what people are listening to.
Right.
I look at rock and roll radio like rock and roll music these days, and that it's just it's trying to find its way. I mean, there's still the classic rock stations.
Sure.
We started as a strict classic rock, and then one of our corporate guys is working with Westwood One Radio, and they've created a new format called Classic Rock X, which our station has changed to that format, and it's classic rock for like our generation.
More heavier.
Yeah,
stuff.
it's about 40% 70s, Zeppelins, AC/DC's, Bad Companies, 50% 80s. So you get all the hair metal, the Warrant, the Motley Crue, stuff like that, and then like a small percent, like 10% 90s.
Gotcha.
Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, Nirvana, stuff like that. So it's been kind of a shot in the arm to the classic rock format.
You feeling old yet?
Oh, jeez, man. I mean, for real, that's what I'm actually over here thinking as Chris is saying this. I'm like, in other words, the classic rock station basically grows as we age.
Yeah, exactly.
In other words, man,
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I remember the first time I heard Metallica on our classic rock station here in Charlotte, 99.75, and that's been years and years ago. And I was like, Jesus, man, here it is.
Yeah.
Or even
Here
Pearl
it is.
Jam, like Pearl Jam.
Yeah,
A lot of Pearl Jam songs were popping up on the Fox.
Yeah, man, and that was
was like-
alternative. Pearl Jam, wait a minute,
Yeah.
man. No, that should
Whoa.
be on 106.5.
Whoa.
Or something, one of the
Yeah, exactly.
That was
alternative
only 10
stations.
years ago, y'all.
No. Oh, no.
No.
Oh, no.
Nope,
Yeah, maybe since their first 10-year anniversary.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But no, man, there is something about hearing. I tell you, I saw a meme. So I get all my information in my life, the way I live my life off memes, like we all should. But it did really strike a chord with me because it says something to the effect, you're old when you go into the grocery store and you can jam out on what they're playing over their PA.
Oh, God.
And that's the damn truth, man. I know, once again, this has been way too long ago, but I went, into Bilo or wherever, and they're jamming out on Born to Run by Bruce Springsteen, and I love that song, man. And I'm in here, I'm just jamming out, going down the aisles. I got my buggy, man. I'm getting, my bread, I'm getting my cereal, and I'm like, fuck. I'm jamming out in a goddamn grocery store. Shit. Brother, I went right to the Geritol aisle. I took a hard left, man. I got some Insure. You know what I'm saying?
Get some
Some
multivitamin.
Yeah,
the pins,
exactly.
I went ahead. I stocked up. I'm like,
So I
fuck
think-
it.
I think-
go and get 'em.
It was Muzak when I was going with my mom to the grocery store. You would hear like the Muzak versions
Yeah.
of popular songs,
right.
playing.
Like the instrumental.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
The
I don't
dentist
know,
office
it's not
version.
so bad.
But nah, man, when you go in and hear something straight off your favorite radio station or some off your playlist,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like, shit, man. I like to say, I'm just waiting to go in there one day and they're playing fucking Man on the Silver Mountain or some shit, Don't say never, man.
No.
Don't
Well,
say can't
I
have
wouldn't bet against
Yeah.
that.
Don't. Iron Man jamming in the fucking
Yep.
produce aisle, you know. It's like, oh, shit.
But, you know, even still with that, it's such a different era now from, you know, when we were growing up. We would never hear that on a public radio broadcast.
No, absolutely not,
You know,
man.
but yeah, it's, you know, it's a different era now. We can hear anything
At any time.
Yeah.
at any time.
At any
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
man. You know, let me ask you, do you think that's hurt the radio industry just with the streaming and just everything being on demand now? If you want to hear a song, you just go to YouTube. You know.
I think it has to a degree. I think it's made, you know, in some regards it's been good because it's made it easier for people to get out there and hear new music
Sure.
because radio a long time ago. I mean, they used to be the hit makers.
Oh yeah.
You know, you wanted to hear the new song, the latest song from this band, that band. You'd turn on the radio and it'd be there. And radio went from being the hit makers to the hit players.
Right.
We wait till things are a
Right.
hit and then
Yeah.
start playing them.
Right.
And so, I mean, it's radio's hurt themselves in that regard, but the influx of more streaming options has allowed people to go out there and find new music. So it's kind of a, you know, a catch-22 when it comes to that.
I got you. And that makes sense,
Yeah.
man. You know, because, you know, I think you touched on a little earlier, Chris, and I do agree about, you know, radio not being obsolete. You know, because I think
Yeah.
there's some people out there that really do feel like it's obsolete. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, if you think that, then go by any work site
Yeah.
where people are working outside or something, man. They got the Fox. You know,
Yeah.
around here, man,
Yep.
it's always jamming.
Oh, yeah.
The radio, I don't see radio ever going away. Not as long as it's broadcasting over the air.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's
As long as it's easy as, you know, the push of a button,
exactly.
especially in your car or, you know, anywhere else. you know.
Exactly, man. And I mean, even with certain options, man, I think a lot of people still like that sort of random, you know, that randomness, man.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know what you're going to hear, man. When you got your playlist, you can hit random, but you
Yeah,
still
yeah.
know those songs.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and I think people do like that. And that's something, I'm going to be honest, guys. I haven't listened to radio in years.
Yeah.
I mean, in years. I listen to playlists. I listen to full albums, you know. Very rarely do I listen to any radio. That's mainstream radio. I do
Right.
listen to one, you know, independent broadcaster. We'll talk about him a little bit later on in this episode. But, you know, man, I just really don't. But I know a lot of people out there prefer it. You know, they just prefer it. You know, they would rather have that. And so, in other words, radio ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, because we listen to morning radio in the mornings whenever we're taking Victoria to school. I mean, that's always something fun because you never know what's going to pop on the radio,
Right.
and she's just going to sing it.
Right.
You know,
right.
that's
yeah.
the thing. You know, just finding new stuff like that.
Right. Just
And you know, the beauty about radio is, yeah, it's not your playlist. It's not things you're already expecting. And how many times I've listened to, and like, oh man, I haven't heard that song in forever.
yeah. Right. Right.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a trip, man, because sometimes well, you know, I kind of get that with YouTube sometimes. Sometimes I'll just put it on, I'll let it
Yeah.
just play the next song. And it's a trip, man, since I've been out of radio, you know, personally. What song came on? I think it was Rocky Mountain Way, actually.
Yeah.
Now, brothers, I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I was so burned out on that song back in the day. If that shit came on the radio, I would turn it just because I heard it so many
Yeah.
times. Which I do think is something that our local classic rock station could probably improve on. They do tend to have a very limited rotation.
Yes.
But now I hadn't heard this song, man. I bet it's been maybe 10 years.
Right.
But it came on on the random, whatever was playing next. And I'm like, holy shit. And I loved it. And I
Yeah.
listened to it. I jammed out on it. And I'm like, man, I haven't heard this song in over a decade. But, man, back when I would listen to the radio every day, back when I didn't have any other options but the radio, that's just one of several songs. And I'm just like, between that and Radar, fucking love, man.
Oh
And-
God,
and Sweet Child of Mine.
No,
Fuck me running, man. God darn.
no, I could probably we could probably make out a whole list.
Oh, bro.
There's some sprinkle in some Sweet Emotion.
Oh, and I love Aerosmith, but Jesus, man.
yeah, yeah.
It's like radio stations think they only put out 4 fucking songs,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
It's like, they got like,
Yeah.
20 years material here. You
Pearl
know?
Jam's, that was the same thing. You'd hear the Pearl
Even
Jam.
fucking Flow, man. I
Yeah.
heard Even Flow
Yeah.
every 10 minutes,
Yeah.
man. Well, dude, I'll go back to Sweet Child of Mine. I love GNR. GNR is one of my all-time favorite bands. Dude, I would rather listen to Two Cats fucking a blender. I mean, for real.
Which one? The Sweet Child of Mine or Welcome to the Jungle?
No, I still like Welcome to the Jungle,
Get
man.
out,
I
man.
still have not got completely burned out. Now,
Really?
don't get me wrong, man. I don't listen to it at home. Like, I don't, man. I'll fast forward through that motherfucker. But if I'm in a car
Yeah.
or somebody's playing it, okay, whatever. If I hear a
Right.
Sweet Child of Mine, I'm just going to put my fingers in my ears and just tell me when that shit's over.
Yeah.
That and fucking Journey. just fill in the blank. Whatever Journey song you want to put in
No,
there.
I can still hear.
Oh fuck! I like Separate Ways.
Don't stop believing, and it just has that special kind of feeling.
Well, that's because you like Caddyshack, man. Wasn't that the Caddyshack? No. Oh, Small Town Girl.
No,
Which
no,
song? What song was in Caddyshack?
Oh,
Pudsworth.
that was
Pudsworth
Kenny
song?
Loggins.
No. They play a Journey song.
Yeah.
Oh,
they
okay.
did
I'm thinking of
play
the
Journey
main song.
on the golf course.
In the golf course.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was Don't Stop Believing.
No, it was
Will in the Sky.
No,
I'm just gonna start naming all.
you're gonna name all the. Damn it.
Stone in Love.
No.
How we looking over?
Love and Touching Squeezing.
No, God, not that one.
Any,
It's all the
any
Journey
way you
songs
want
I
it.
know.
Which one?
Any way you want.
Was that the one?
Oh,
Anyway,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Man. I can't get into Journey, dude. I've always said the sound of Journey to me is like the smell of dog food. It's just one and the same, man. I don't completely. I'm not.
I have never heard that. What does that even mean?
It means to me the smell of dog food equates the sound of Journey.
The funny thing is we have a dog food factory in the town that I broadcast
Do
out of.
they play Journey?
And there's some days I go to work and the whole town reeks of dog food.
Oh.
So I'm like, okay, yeah, I get where you're going with
See,
this.
thank you. In other words, Journey must be playing tonight.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So now every time I think of Journey or hear a Journey song on my show, I'm like, is that dog food?
Oh,
My work here is done. Man, I'm done, man. The PUDcast has come full circle, man. I'm done.
So you'd rather hear Steve Perry solo?
I mean, I'm not that familiar with his solo stuff.
Really?
It couldn't be any worse, man. I mean, I do like Separate Ways. I like
Yeah.
Separate Ways. That's a good song. That's okay. It's okay.
I
It's
thought that was
aight.
the most. I thought that was
Really?
one of the most overplayed songs.
Well, I mean, anything by Journey's over.
Oh yeah, it is. I mean, you know, it's tough.
We're going to rename the name of this episode to Journey Sucks. With Chris Baker.
Oh man,
Man, dude, I've been full of hate today, man.
that's true. That's true.
I've been full of
That's
hate,
true.
man, and now I'm hating on Journey. I was hating
Journey,
on the geeks earlier.
power ballads.
Jesus,
Fuck 'em.
man. Fuck them all. Fuck them all. Damn, Baker, you showed up on the wrong weekend. Or maybe it's the right
I
one.
don't like
yeah,
that.
that's hey.
I don't
Depends
like
on how you
no
look at it.
striper. I don't like this.
I don't like none of this shit. Damn it, man. Buzzword, if you wanted to send in for me, man, I'll look up shit.
He's
I'll
just gonna
look
go
up
over
shit.
here and punch walls.
Yeah. Kick kittens and shit. Come here.
Oh.
All right, man. Let's get back on task. Man.
Yeah, man.
Let's see here. Where do we go from there, man? Well, let me ask you, Baker. Have you? Is there anybody that you still like to meet that you haven't? I'm sure there's a shitload of people, but
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, there are guys that I would like to meet. I mean, I did. We were talking earlier today about. I was going to the last Alice Cooper show I went to. Damon Johnson,
right.
from Brother Kane, which I'm a huge Brother Kane fan. I've got to interview him, but he's a guy I would like to meet because he's just a really super friendly guy.
Right.
So meeting him would be very cool. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't really have a bucket list per
I
se
got you.
of people I'd like to meet, but I'm open for any rock stars
Oh.
out there that would like to meet me.
Brother
Hey,
King.
thank y'all for listening.
They had a tie to Alice Cooper as well, didn't they?
Who, Brother Kane?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Am I right on that?
don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I know Damon Johnson has played guitar for him on a couple albums, and he's toured with him and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, and then they've done some writing. So, yeah, they do have that connection.
So, man, have you been able to go to a lot of cool concerts?
Yeah. I've
I'm
actually,
sure, yeah.
that's one of the nice perks about radio is free tickets to
Yeah.
concerts. So, yeah, I mean, I've been to see like a lot of the hair bands. I got to see Poison and Cinderella play.
Oh, awesome, man.
And Cinderella just
I love Cinderella.
they
man.
just blew Poison out of the water. I mean,
I could
really
see that.
stole the show. Tom Kiefer just such a showman.
Yeah, man.
That was great. I got to see another show. It was Cinderella headlining, and it was Quiet Riot. I got to see them
cool.
before Kevin DuBrow passed away.
Oh,
Right,
cool,
right.
man.
which
cool.
was
That's cool.
badass, and Firehouse was with them.
Yeah, they're from Charlotte, actually.
yeah,
Firehouse.
yeah.
Yeah. It used to be White Heat back in the day.
Yeah, I got to see Skinnerd.
Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah, it wasn't long before Billy Powell passed away.
Oh, really?
So it was kind of nice to be able to see him as a part of the band
Right.
while it was still a
At
couple
least a
guys
couple.
left. Yeah.
I was going to say, man.
So
It's like every year, man, they just lost members. and
yeah,
members,
exactly.
Man, you know.
It's just they're kind of dwindling away,
Yeah.
but still put on a hell of a show.
Oh yeah, man! I
Yeah.
went to see them this last time in Charlotte, for their farewell tour.
Yeah.
I mean, man, they blew. I wonder if they were so good because they got younger blood in there. To be honest.
Yeah,
with
maybe.
You.
I mean, well, I remember watching them. It was at our big county fair, and Billy, playing on things like Tuesday's Gone or
Right.
whatever, or Freebird, and he didn't,
Wasn't hitting them.
age was catching up. You
Yeah.
could tell, but
Wasn't hitting those licks.
yeah,
Right.
exactly. But still, a great show. So yeah, them Def Leppard, I got to see
Oh,
them, which
cool.
was really cool. Because I never got to see them back in the day, which was always one of my great regrets. So yeah, those are some of the shows I've got to see.
Man, talking about Skinner, that was my first concert back in 1991. The day after my 16th birthday, I got to see them, and it was their first. It was their first tour with a new album. They had toured as the tribute band a few years earlier, I think in '87. Basically, what I'm trying to get around to is I got to see the most original lineup you could see.
Nice.
Still Ed King was still in the band.
Yeah.
Artemis Pie was still in the band.
Nice.
Yeah, Billy, obviously. Leon Wilkeson was still alive. To this day, man, that's one of my fondest memories. But I tell you, man, we went every year. It was kind of our tradition, from the time I was 16, I think up until, good God, man, maybe 24, 25. We almost went 8 or 9 years. I can't remember. But, guys, I'm going to be honest. By the time that we stopped going, they just started going downhill, man.
Yeah.
Now this last tour I went to, completely different.
Yeah.
Because I know the last time we went, Tesla, who I love.
Yeah.
Huge Tesla fan right
Yeah.
here, y'all.
So that's a band I'd love to see live.
Oh, man. Oh, dude, they blew Skinner straight up off the
Yeah.
stage. Because when they came back out, it was just like, man, we there was just nothing they could do. I mean,
Yeah.
Freebird, obviously, Freebird's going to be the shit, obviously. But, man, the rest of that set, we're just like, fuck, man. Y'all ain't following it. I mean, Tesla came
Yeah.
up there and set the son of a bitch on fire,
Wow.
man. And to this day, that's when I became a huge Tesla fan, and I've been one ever since. But just kind of talk about how Skinner and some of them older bands do tend to
Oh yeah.
they kind of dwindle, man, here and there. I think that's why they're all going these final
let me-
farewell tours.
Well, let me
Yeah.
ask you with that with live shows. One of the perks was getting free tickets. What do you think about ticket prices now, as opposed to when we were younger?
where you can afford them,
Right.
Well, it's amazing if you look at ticket stubs from tickets back in the day, even back in the 80s and the 70s and stuff like that. I remember somebody I know, I can't remember who it was showing me a ticket stub from seeing Kiss somewhere up around Erie, Pennsylvania, and some little nothing place, and I can't remember what the price was, but it was like single digits.
we
Yeah.
could get enough change in your car.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And
seriously.
I'm like, you're gonna pay hundreds of dollars for those tickets now, and
Oh, man.
it's just, I mean, I get it. The record companies
Sure.
screw these bands,
Sure.
and they don't make a dime off the CDs and the
Right.
music they
Right.
put out, so
Right.
they've got to get their money through concerts and merch. I
Right.
get that, but it's where kids these days, I feel sorry for them because you can't afford to go to a show.
Well, man, back in the day, that's what young people did. Now it's what all of us older people
Yeah.
with like really good jobs
We're
can
the
do
only ones that
now.
can afford it,
You know,
barely.
Yeah.
Barely,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
And it almost reminds me of the Harley Davidson syndrome. Back in like the day of the 60s and 70s, man, only outlaws, only
Yeah.
like the people outside the norm drove or rode a Harley.
Yeah.
Now, man, hell, you can't get a Harley unless you're a fucking CEO or something, man. Obviously I'm exaggerating that, but my
No,
point
yeah,
is,
you're on point.
yeah, I mean, it's the same thing with concert tickets. The first $100 concert ticket I ever remember was the first Eagles reunion.
Yeah.
And this was probably back in about 94, 95. It was the first one.
Unheard of.
Man, because me and my brother Brian Turner, shout out to Brian Turner, we wanted to go because we were both huge Eagles fans. And, we're like, yeah, let's go. And, $20, whatever back then.
Yeah.
Even back in the 90s, man, they weren't that expensive.
Yeah.
And we're like, man, the cheapest seat was like $100-some.
Yeah.
We're like, fuck the Eagles. Man, we'll go see REO
Sorry.
fucking Speedwagon.
Sorry,
I think,
yeah.
and we did.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
ended up, well, me and Brian didn't go, but me and another friend, we ended up
Yeah.
just going to an REO Speedwagon concert a few weeks later. I think we went to the Pavilion, and I think it was like $15 for a grass seat.
Oh, wow.
Man.
Oh yeah.
Or $5, maybe $5. I'm sorry, back then it was probably $5 for a grass seat. But
I remember one of the first ones I'd gone to. Metallica's Black Album tour.
Oh yeah.
The height of Metallica
Oh
popularity.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
$16 was that ticket.
Oh,
Jesus,
Jesus,
man.
wow.
God
You know?
almighty, man. And this is Metallica. I mean,
Metallica.
Black Album tour,
Yes.
man.
Yeah.
This ain't, the Kill 'Em All
This is
tour.
3-hour show.
Right.
Just them.
And that's when they had like that stage.
The round.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
round.
Man. Yes.
Yeah, $16.
Wow.
That's what I'm saying.
Now.
Man. Now, brother, hell, it's what $100 and some for a nosebleeder, dude. I mean, or higher. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
man. It's unreal.
Back in the summer, and I couldn't go do so expensive.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
man. Oh, dude, I can't tell you how many concerts I've not been able to go to because I just could
Oh,
not
yeah.
afford it. Or they come on a fucking Tuesday. That's something else, man. Jesus Christ, I'm getting back on my fucking haterade, man.
Yeah.
No, dude, let me tell you a little story here. This just happened recently. Brandon Dowdy, man. I know I just pronounced his name all shitty, but my buddy Brandon, man, we went to the Skinner concert. And we were wanting to go see, oh, Jesus, who was it, man? It was a Deep Purple and Judas Priest. And I love Priest. Not a big Deep Purple fan. I like Perfect Strangers. I do like some of their songs. But I love Judas Priest, man. And they are on my bucket list. I want to see Judas Priest. All right, man, let's go. I got a job. I got a regular job, regular hours. Well, man, this son of a bitch is on a fucking Tuesday.
Right.
We're like, well, shit, man, we can't go. So I started going down my Facebook. It's a couple days later. We're complaining about it. We're just bitching about how concerts are on Tuesdays. Well, there's the Alice Cooper Paranormal Tour that he just come off of. And I misread it, man, and I was looking at the Tennessee date, and it was on a Friday. So I hit up Brandon. I'm like, hey, man, Alice Cooper's coming, brother. He's on a weekend. We can go. Holy shit, no. I was looking at the Tennessee one, the one that's in Charlotte's on a fucking Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Guess what
Yep.
day Ozzy's coming? Fucking Tuesday. Guess what day Iron Maiden's coming? Monday. Monday, actually. Fucking
Wow.
Monday.
Wow.
So I don't know, man. I mean, I got a job.
I
and
remember
shit.
that Metallica show. I remember that Metallica show being midweek.
Yeah, but back in the day, man, I would do it back
Oh,
in,
yeah,
in my
for
20s
sure.
or something.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't
Yeah.
matter what day it was on, man. It could be whenever, man. Wednesday at 2 a.m. All right, I'll be there.
Yeah.
Now I
Oh,
see that.
yeah.
If I see
Yeah.
anything but but Friday or Saturday,
Right. You're done.
I'm done, man. I was like, well, hell, man,
Yeah.
I gotta work, man.
Yeah.
And even my boss was like, well, you can take the day off. I'm like, yeah, but shit, I need the fucking money.
All right.
I mean, hell, you
Yeah.
gonna pay me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I would do that shit now.
Yeah.
Goddamn, a paid day off and a concert. Hell
Yeah.
yeah. But we're gonna have to figure that out.
And how much was it going to be?
Oh, I don't even know, man. I didn't make it past the date.
Didn't make it past the Oh.
Hey, I saved my money, brother. I
That's
saved
right.
my money. Well, I tell you guys what, we're getting about at the halfway point. But Mike, we got something once again, man. Since we got a special guest in the studio, we also
Sir.
have a special event we're going to do.
Okay.
Because, man, since this is rock and roll radio, we're actually going to introduce a rock and roll song.
Yes.
It's for the first time ever. The Puds are actually going to play a little music on here.
That's right.
So I'm going to give a little background, then I'm going to turn it over to the professional to introduce this band. But before we get to that, I got to give a special shout out to my man Papa Jack over at WTAU, the P Ridge Nation. Chris, you need to check this guy out, man.
Yeah.
He does local independent acts. He's his own, he's got his podcast. He also broadcasts live. I'll send you all this information, man. I think you would really dig
Sweet.
it.
I can't wait to check that out.
Yeah, man. Some of the bands he plays are just unbelievably awesome, man.
Sweet.
Including the band we're about to talk about. So I wanted to give him his props because I heard the song on his show. I reached out and I'm like, man, I want to play these guys. He was like, well, here's their information. I reached out to them. Brother, I'm talking in about 15, 20 minutes. We're like, yeah, man, it's cool. I thought I was going to have to go through some red tape. I was like, oh, man, and this band's out of Finland, if I'm not mistaken. And I was like, oh, shit, man, I don't know these guys. They're going to tell me to fuck off, not to use their song. I didn't know. I was like, man, this is uncharted territory. Man, 20, 30 minutes later, yeah, it's cool, man. It's cool. I was like, all right, man.
Solid.
So,
Yes.
Baker, if you would, brother, if you would introduce. Did I tell you who the band is?
No.
See, this is why we need a professional. I tell you what, man, I'll do it. I'll do it.
Get the hell out of here.
You do it, I'll critique
Hey,
you.
critique me,
All right.
man. Yes, great. No pressure, no pressure. All right, man. So, without any further ado, let me introduce to you. The name of the band is Wrestling. So, it's going to be right up our alley. And the name of the song is Wrestlemania 6. You didn't hear it here first on the podcast, but hopefully you are hearing it. So, y'all don't go nowhere. We'll be right back.
You are about to enter a world close to parts unknown. WrestleMania!
rematch of WrestleMania number 6. The best there is, the best there was, or the best there ever will be. Prepare yourself for some serious slamming action tonight. Like a wind turbine, like an interferer. The ultimate warrior, riding from the periphery. Here at Wrestlemania 6, you will experience malfunction in your brain, and all that is left is total self-destruction. Sir, do you try to find out the reason why, or do you, sir, kick down the walls of all inhibition? These two candidates who have already made the sacrifice so that you, sir, can safely face the challenge right here, right now. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for power slamming pile drive, clotheslines and body slams, pulverizing neck breakers and combinations? Are you ready to rock, wrestling fans? It's time to make a power move for wrestling. This is the intensity of the battle you've been waiting for. This is where the bloods come out, rules get bent and the wrestlers raise havoc. People, it's time for Wrestlemania. Today's main event, get ready. In the blue corner, at 6'2", weighing in at 279 pounds, the guy who gets all the ladies and some of the men. Oh boy, is this guy ready or what? Wow! Look at this! The ultimate warrior!
All right, Puds, we're back, man. That was a jamming song.
Oh, that was
brother.
badass.
You dig that,
I
man?
like that.
Cool, man. Yeah, once again, I want to give a special shout out to the band for allowing us to play that. If you guys are out there listening, we'll put up a link to it either today or tomorrow, within the next couple of days, where you guys can listen to that song, buy their album. I don't have the money, but I'm gonna buy that album as soon as I do get the money, which I will be getting the money here pretty soon. So I'm gonna definitely go out and I'm gonna spend the money to get that. Because man, that's just jamming.
He's going to get a suit too, because he just got a new job, and he's going to rock out the suit like everybody else here.
I ain't putting in my notice yet, bro. hey, you heard it here first. Heard it here first on the podcast. My boss ain't listening. You know what? I think I'll listen to Jason's podcast today.
This will be the day today.
Motherfucker! I swear to God. What? It would be. me. I've been telling Jason I was going to listen to it.
Yeah.
New job. But yeah, man, that's what's going on with me this week, man. I got a new job. So,
Yeah.
yeah, man. So
If they made it past the, I'd hit it better T-shirt part.
man, I get on here, dude. I just get on here. I tell myself all the fucking time, man. Dude, hey, I think a podcast would be fun. Like a year later, Jesus, man. Just tell on yourself. Man.
Yeah.
I admit to breaking the law like every week.
Right.
Hey, boss, I'm quitting.
Yeah. Sure.
I had crushes on these chicks, and they're dating geeks now. And I'm hating on them. And what else have I done, man? I think that's about it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to change the subject. I want to talk before. I definitely want to change the subject. But I want to change it back to that band, man, that we just listened to.
Yes.
Wrestling. Wrestlemania.
Finland.
6. Finland's very own, man.
Wow.
Once again, so fucking cool. They just, man, I reached out. They're like, yeah, play it. So, Puds, let's help them out.
Absolutely.
Let's go. Let's get them, get on their Facebook.
And-
I'll put all that on there, man, where you can like their Facebook and, help them out, man. Help 'em out.
And Puzzler, Finland's pretty big on some, rock bands.
Music
Oh,
scene,
yeah.
yeah,
Music scene.
right, man.
McCoy, him, 69 Eyes,
The-
a lot of other stuff.
They got a good scene going on,
Yes.
man. It's good to see that there is at least a good rock and roll scene still around,
Yeah,
man.
somewhere.
Somewhere. Jesus, man.
Well, let's talk about that. The state of rock and roll now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a perfect segue, brother.
Yeah.
What is your opinion on the current state of rock and roll, Baker?
Rock and roll is kind of, I mean, it's still there. I mean, there's still some great bands out there, but the record companies and popular radio, top 40 radio, have kind of lost faith in it.
Right.
And there really needs to be that band to come along. I know it's kind of cliche to say, but
Right.
that band to come along, that Guns N' Roses, that
Yes.
Nirvana, something
Zeppelin,
to shake it up,
right,
Zeppelin,
right.
that just kind of changes the game
Right.
in a good way. I mean, there's some bands out there that are doing things different, but it sucks.
That's
Right.
my thing, man. Like, who is it? Greta Van Fleet that's out.
Yeah.
They're a newer band,
Yeah.
and I do like their music.
Mhm.
What little bit I've heard, but man, they sound like Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
I mean, they're so similar to Zeppelin. It just doesn't.
A lot of bands did.
Well, or Zeppelin sounded like a lot of bands.
Stop
it. Just saying.
That's a whole nother
Oh,
show.
brother, we'll definitely get you back for that one.
Yeah.
But guys, I actually was talking to a friend of mine, and this is just a couple days ago. And once again, to kind of go with "I could hit it better" T-shirt, I think this was a fairly decent quote I said myself. But we were talking. I'm like, man, it sounds to me like country went disco, hip hop went unintelligible, and rock and roll. I mean, seriously, and rock and roll lost its
point.
voice.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really the three things,
Yeah.
man. I mean, country music is just straight up disco now, man.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
the pop stuff is.
Yeah, exactly.
Rap, which was all about rapping, which meant speaking and talking about things that were going on. Now they mumble all their shit, and you can't understand a fucking word they say. So, I mean, how can you get a message out when you can't fucking understand? And
Fair
rock
enough.
and roll, man, is just, it's blah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just
Well,
blah,
here's
man.
the thing, and I was talking to somebody, a friend of mine, about this one. I felt like rock and roll really died in the 70s, at the end of the 70s. Listen to me.
Okay.
Listen to me now. Pure rock and roll died at the end of the 70s. Everything else was,
Like a variation or something?
well, you had the big new wave run and everything. So you had only sporadic rock and roll bands, say like Guns N' Roses. I always thought Guns N' Roses not as a metal band, but a rock and roll band.
Yeah.
Black Crowes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good example.
There were
Good example.
sporadic rock and roll bands coming out
Right.
at that time, but everything else was kind of like, you had your new wave, and then you had your grunge,
Then your hair metal.
Yeah.
metal
right.
bands, stuff like that.
Even prog rock, you can even kind of look
Right,
into that.
exactly.
Man.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love Rush. I know
Oh,
that
yeah.
was something that me and Baker always had a common thing with, but it's not straightforward rock and roll.
Right.
No.
I mean, not really.
No, not really.
Yeah.
Sabbath. I mean, Jesus, man. I mean, they changed. That's like my
Oh,
favorite
yeah.
band, man. But
Yeah.
they completely changed
Yes.
rock and roll, and definitely turned it into something.
Yeah.
Even to this day, man, to me, Sabbath still feels like an underground band.
Right.
They always will, and I think that's why they're so great, man, because they just feel underground.
They were so different from anything at that time, and even the bands that came after that tried to emulate that, They never did it.
You
They never
can't.
could.
Nah, man. And even though there were some heavier bands before Sabbath, I mean, there was some like, was it 10cc, was out. Even in Iron Butterfly to a certain degree, they were fairly heavy.
Yeah.
Blue Cheer was another
Yeah.
one that was out. But nothing was like Sabbath. But even today, Sabbath still blurs those lines,
Yes.
man. I remember back in the early 90s talking to a guy at a record store, Selection Records up in Hickory, North Carolina, and we were talking about Black Sabbath, and this guy was a huge Nirvana fan and stuff like that. And he was like, yeah, man, Sabbath was the first grunge band.
Right.
And I'm like, shit, I can't argue that. I mean, really, if you think about the style and the sound, hell, they were the first almost everything, really.
That's true,
you know?
yeah. Well, everything was kind of
can see
derived
that.
from them.
It really
Yeah,
was.
it really was.
Grunge, I mean,
Punk, but even punk, maybe, to a
You-
certain
you-
degree.
I mean,
you
you
know?
look at bands like Alice in Chains and Soundgarden,
Oh.
and even Nirvana. And that early Nirvana stuff was Sabbath heavy.
Very riff
Yeah.
heavy,
Yeah.
man. Real dirty, sludgy, even sludge rock
Yeah.
and sludge metal. These new metal genres
yeah.
can still be traced back to Sabbath, man.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know.
definitely.
But Mike, to kind of go back to what you were saying, man, you make a good point with that. Like the straightforward up, in your like the Skinner bands,
Right.
The CCRs,
Right.
the Eagles, even, man.
Yeah.
I mean, they had a little bit of a country feel, but they were rock and roll, man. They
Yeah,
were straight, Tom Petty.
And they weren't commercialized.
That's right.
Yeah.
At that time.
Yeah.
At that time.
At
man.
that time,
At that
yeah,
time.
definitely during that into that 70s era. But because you had early 80s, right at the 80s, you had the MTV, you
Right.
had more commercialized radio stations.
Oh yeah, man! It started going corporate.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Let me ask you guys this, and this is just a thought I had when you said '80s. What do y'all think the keyboard did to rock and roll? Oh man, that got some
Wow.
heavy breaths,
Okay.
bro.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got 2 deep breaths at one time.
I don't think it hurt it. I don't.
No.
You don't think so?
Because it was there before.
Yeah.
And of course Zeppelin.
I was going to say, you had guys wailing on a Hammond B3
well, that's
long before
true.
the keyboards came along, and I think that may have just been an extension of that. I think some bands relied a little too heavily on it.
Too heavily. Yeah,
And
yeah.
it became more about that than the music.
I think the technology.
Ah, there you go. Maybe more than keyboards, maybe
Right.
the technology in general, man.
Yeah.
Because keyboards
Yeah.
and technology have always been connected with
Yeah.
that, you know what I'm saying? But no, that's a good point, man. Maybe it's
Yeah.
not necessarily the keyboard itself. Because I'm thinking more about like the new wave
New
stuff
wave,
that came in.
Yeah.
Heavy synth stuff.
You know,
Yeah.
Which, in a lot of ways, if we're keeping it real, just like I said, country went disco, and I mean that's disco. I mean, in my opinion, it's just a different,
Right.
different,
Yeah.
version of disco, but it's poppy. Everybody likes it. It's danceable.
Yeah.
It's what's in the clubs. You can always kind of tell
Absolutely.
what the disco is by
Oh,
what's being
yeah.
played in the clubs.
Yeah.
And it's man. It's kind of, to me, man. I look at the keyboard. I think of Van Halen. I think of the 1984 album. You know what I'm saying? That's when the
Okay.
keyboards really started coming in.
Right.
And I'm kind of going off on my own little tangent here, so y'all bear with me.
Okay.
But to me, man, those first 4 Van Halen albums were so rock and roll, man.
Yeah.
They were just so. I mean, once again, that's another one of the bands I absolutely love. It's one of my top 3 is Van Halen. And those first 4 albums are masterpieces, man.
Yeah.
Diver Down's great, but it started kind of moving away. It started getting more keyboard oriented. And brother, by the time
Okay.
1984 come out,
Right.
which is, even though it was the most successful album they put out, to me, man, it was kind of the end of that. You know how you're talking about how rock and roll died in the 70s? I can almost put that parallel with Van Halen's use of keyboards. It's kind of what I'm getting at, man.
Okay.
In other words, when Eddie Van Halen started playing the keyboard, he killed rock and roll, man. That's what I'm trying to say.
All right. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. I don't know. You had guys like that. You had Bon Jovi. He
Right.
used a lot of keyboard.
They did.
and-
But Bon Jovi was always kind of in the outskirts, a little bit. Like, there's purists out there that's like, fuck some Bon Jovi.
all right. Oh
I mean,
yeah.
really,
yeah.
man.
Yeah, oh,
See,
yeah.
all for real,
Jovi,
man.
yeah.
Yeah,
A lot
like
of Bon Jovi hate.
cause I like Bon Jovi.
I love Bon
Yeah.
Jovi.
And I'll
I
tell
think
you right quick, man. And I've got a little bit of like, well, damn, what are you? Like,
Right.
you communist or something?
Yeah. Yeah.
Fuck you, man. I'm an American.
Cause,
man.
because he was like the Bruce Springsteen of our era.
That's absolutely
Yeah.
right. But man, I always thought Bruce Springsteen, to me, I love Bruce Springsteen, man. Let me just
Yeah.
go ahead and put that on the table, man. I'm a huge, huge fan. I always considered him to be the straight up rock and roll
Yes.
guy, man.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah,
he was
Yep.
definitely one of those Americana, in your face. I'm not going out on the limb. I'm not trying to, make you trip out on anything, like
Right.
some of these psychedelic bands and stuff like that. It was just straightforward. But to me, man, like where Bon Jovi, I think a lot of times they look at what the girls listen to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? A lot of the guys are like, oh, man, well, Bon Jovi's really big with the girls.
Yeah.
I don't know if Springsteen was like that, per se. In other words, man, Bon Jovi was like the Rock and Roll Express.
Right. Yeah.
In pro
Okay,
wrestling,
I got
man.
you. I got
That's
you.
what I'm getting at. Where
Yeah.
I was a Midnight Express guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though I did like Bon Jovi, but you know what I'm
Okay.
saying. I just wonder, man, if or I guess my point, man, is I always consider Bruce Springsteen not to be what's the word, poppy, I guess.
Yeah.
Or as poppy, I guess. But
Well, definitely not until the 80s.
No, the 80s.
Yeah.
He 180'd it he 180'd in the 80s. Damn it, man! I'm about to get some trademark motherfuckers up here. Damn.
Well, yeah, that definitely. I mean, in any genre of music, do you want to be a pop star per se? Do you want to have your songs played on the radio, or do you want to have artistic integrity? And especially in the 80s, I mean, that's where things kind of started leaning towards. If you wanted to make a pop hit, you had to make something the girls were going to like.
Right.
And that's why there's such a big a lot of metal purists are down on the glam metal, the hair
Sure.
metal, stuff like that, because I mean, you listen to a lot of that stuff, like Poison.
Great.
They look like a bunch of chicks.
They look like women, man.
But
yeah,
if you listen to like Look What the Cat Dragged In, I mean, those are some heavy
there's some
riffs.
heavy shit on there. Fuck yeah, there
But
is.
then they wrote "Talk Dirty to Me" and "I Won't
Every
Forget
Rose.
You" and,
Yeah.
and stuff that
which are great songs.
yeah, great songs. But it was stuff that was going to appeal to
Yeah.
women too, and
Right.
and I think you kind of have that disconnect there between
What would you have every Iron Maiden album?
yeah.
And somebody's going to try to put on,
Yeah.
look what the cat
Yeah,
drags in.
yeah.
Once again,
Yeah.
why are you some kind of communist?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
that shit ain't going to fly, man.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not going to go over. But, speaking of Poison, man, this is a very embarrassing story. But,
Okay.
hey, man, I'm
Fair enough.
I'm here. I'm live, man. Dude, my friend Quincy Wilson. I got to give a shout out to my buddy Quincy, man. He was an old bass player just like I was.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird in bands, man, because your guitar players always kind of be competitive. Like, oh, I'm better than this one, I'm better than that one. Drummers, kind of the same way. Singers, I absolutely like that. Bass players tend to stick together, man, because, we know that nobody appreciates us.
Right.
But
The redheaded steps out of the band.
Yeah, it's like, hey, are you a bass player? Yeah. You want to be friends? I need one. Yeah, me too.
Well, everybody would jam like not 2 blocks from where we are
That's
right
true,
now.
man. Oh, at one time, man, this area was huge local. And we're going to do a music.
Yes.
We're definitely going to do
Yeah.
a local. And actually, we got a guest lined up for that one
Mm-hmm.
who was involved in
Yes.
the scene. So that's later on. That's probably going to be in 2019.
Yeah.
But but yeah, man, it was huge here at that time. Damn, where was I going?
The
Shit.
Quincy.
Oh yeah, well, Quincy. yeah, and Poison. Yeah, man. So at this time, man, I had just kind of started getting into rock and roll. I grew up in a country house. Like rock and roll just was not, dude. My dad thought Leonard Skinner was crazy rock and roll music. Swear to God, man. Swear to God, he's like, what is that? And I'm like, it's Leonard Skinner. Oh, you don't need to listen to that shit. Put on some Merle.
Calm down.
or Conway.
Calm down, Jim.
Yeah, for real. Take it easy. Take it easy.
Yeah.
Put on some Conway.
Yeah.
Some Alabama, which I love that stuff too.
Uh-huh.
But Quincy was like, "Hey man, have you checked out Poison?" And I'm like, "No, like I said, I'm just getting introduced to all this stuff." So he showed me the cassette tape. I'm like, "Damn, they're hot." Swear to God, man. Swear to God, I was like, "Oh shit, who are these chicks, man?
yeah.
They're hot as fuck."
Yeah.
He was like, "Ah, dude,
Yeah.
got some bad news for you." I was like, "Oh no." Had to go home and take a shower. So, oh God. But I did like it, man. I love the music. We ended up listening to it, and yeah, man, I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that kind of that poppy hair metal.
Yeah.
I love it, man. We talked about Cinderella earlier.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's a band that is
Oh,
so
my God.
criminally underrated.
Yes.
It is,
Easily.
Yes.
Man. Dude, because they were a little bit more than just that glam rock, too.
They kind of had that Delta bluesy sound in some
yeah.
of their songs, and
Yes.
it really added a lot more components to their music than
Yes.
you got with like Rat or
Right,
Poison.
which I love Rat now.
Oh, yeah, me
I
too,
love
yeah.
me some Rat,
Yeah, me
brother.
too.
I mean, I'm a huge Rat fan, but I get what you're saying.
But they were a little more diverse.
Oh,
Very,
yeah,
very.
definitely. Because even with their ballads, oh my God,
Dude.
it was just maybe a week or so ago. I caught on TV, the MTV Classics does the Metal Mania,
Right.
and they played the Nobody's Fool.
Oh,
video.
Great song,
Oh, yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Great song.
And after it was over, I had to go back on YouTube and watch it again because it is such a great song.
Yeah, man, and there's something about them, and I think Chris, I think you really hit the nail on the head with that Delta sound. But they did have that southern, almost a southern rock vibe, bluesy, man.
Yeah,
they
very
definitely
much.
had
Yeah.
that Delta bluesy type.
Yeah.
And with Kiefer's vocal style being, I call it the AC/DC style,
Yeah.
because it's definitely that high end. But dude, he was bluesy. Almost like Brian Johnson's like that.
Oh,
Brian
yeah, very
Johnson's
much
very,
so.
very bluesy with that high pitched,
Yeah.
kind of screechy type vocals, but it sounds so fucking good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I
Yeah.
mean? It just sounds so good to me. And Tom Kiefer's definitely up there, but I think Tom Kiefer even had a little bit more bluesy feel to him than Brian Johnson does.
Oh, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, something about Cinderella, man, that was just magical. Like I
Yeah.
said, them and Tesla, I'll always say the two most underrated bands. Mother Love Bone's
sure.
another one.
Oh,
For
yeah.
sure.
Mother Love
Yeah,
Bone. Dude,
yeah.
we
Yep.
try to bring them up as much as we can
Yeah,
on the show.
exactly.
Yep.
I actually listened to them this morning, man. That was my workout
Wow.
music this morning. Was Mother Love Bone, and yeah, man, there's just so many great bands out there that just kind of don't get their props, man.
No.
And I think a lot of it too is when grunge started coming in.
Yeah.
Especially with Cinderella, Heartbreak Station.
Well, I think even back then with Cinderella, I mean, they were overshadowed by Poison.
Man.
Yeah.
So
Warrant,
much.
Warrant was coming up pretty big at that time. Still, Poison was like
Yeah, that was.
their measuring stick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was Poison. And then, like I said, Warren I'd put there. They really come out, especially with Cherry Pie, man.
I
Shit.
was not a big fan of Warrant.
It's alright.
They were. Yeah.
I like
they
Cherry
had-
Pie.
I was never a huge Warrant fan per se, but they did have a lot of songs I liked.
I like
Cherry Pie, Uncle Tom's Cabin.
that was a good song, man.
Down Boys was really
Down
good.
Boy was
but
jamming. Heaven. I like
Yeah.
Heaven. I ain't gonna lie. I did, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'll go home and listen to that shit right now.
You don't like Striper?
See how this shit circles back?
What the hell?
See, man, that's one thing about doing a podcast with Mike, man. He remembers all this shit, man. Like, I forget, man. 5 minutes after I say something, it's gone. Mike's like, I remember this shit. Mike's like, mental note. But I tell you another band from back in that era that I really loved, and we did touch on them a little earlier, was Skid Row.
Oh yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
those, those two Skid Row albums with Sebastian Bach, especially that debut, man, shit.
Oh yeah.
That debut album was
But that
was
second
unreal.
album was so
Dude,
much different from
and
the
it was
first.
heavy as fuck.
Oh yeah.
And it was heavy, man.
Yeah, it was heavy.
When it
Slave to
came
the
out-
Grind.
Yeah, Monkey Business.
Yeah.
Dude. Oh, Quicksand Jesus, man, that was like their ballad. And
Yeah.
that son of a bitch is heavy,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
And that's what really sucks, man, that they split. I know it's technically Skid Row's still around, but
Yeah, but it's
come on, man.
not Skid Row.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
man, no. It's kind of like when The Office went on
Well, I
without
mean-
Michael,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, come on,
Yeah.
man,
But yeah, I remember even the B-sides that they
Dude, that
did.
was good
Yeah.
shit.
That was great stuff. They did, the covers.
Yes, man. And actually, there's a song they do with Rob Halford on it. It was a Judas Priest cover.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember which one, man. I just listened to it a few weeks ago when I was working out. I put it on. I can't. Maybe the Green.
The Mandalay
Maybe. I can't remember, man.
Right.
I just know it was
Yeah.
badass because Rob came out and they
Oh,
got
yeah,
that shit
yeah,
together,
yeah.
and I'm like,
Yeah.
holy fuck, man.
Nice.
Yeah, this is good stuff, man. But it's
Well, they're doing the Ramones covers.
That's
and That's
right.
another
Yeah.
band. Ramones.
the Ramones were
just-
great.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
hey, man, the name of
Love-
this episode is Rock and Roll Radio.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a Ramones song, man.
Yep.
As soon as I saw that cover you did for, that's all I've had stuck in my head
It
was
was
that
Rock and
song,
Roll
man.
Radio,
Yep.
man. Yes,
Yep.
yeah.
Like all last night, that's
And
all
I-
I thought about.
And I'm glad you brought it up, Mike, because I wanted to give the Ramones their props on
Yeah.
this show for this episode. But man, I was never a huge punk fan.
Here's my thing with the Ramones. It's just my take on it. Yeah, they were labeled punk.
Labeled, right?
I felt like they were more rock and roll than
Yeah.
they were punk.
They were
Because
definitely
there were a
more
lot of
mainstream.
different punk bands out at that time.
They didn't sound like the Ramones.
No.
No.
They didn't even come close. They
No.
were more, to me, they were safe punk. They were punk for me. They were punk for people who didn't like punk. That was
Fair enough.
kind of how I look. Because I did
They
like the
even like
Ramones.
the Sex Pistols. I didn't really consider them punk.
Really, I was
No.
kind of considering them to be more punk. But like I said, man, I'm not an expert on punk by any means,
Right.
man. I liked a little bit of the Misfits, a little bit here and there, what I've heard. Like I said, I like a lot of the Ramones. Liked a little bit of the Sex Pistols, but like Black Flag, I just couldn't get into. Man, I tried them. Suicidal Tendencies, I know they're not.
I love Suicide.
See, I could not get
Oh
into
my
them, guys.
God.
I just can't get into.
There
I
was
tried.
such a huge mix of what was going on in Suicidal Tendencies, just from the rock and the funk.
I was going to say they had a funky bass
Oh
player,
my
man.
gosh.
But I just couldn't.
You had that rap element in there too,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it was just they were so different from anybody else.
I tried, man. I will say that their bass is funky. I mean, they're all good, man. They're all good musicians.
Everybody was incredible.
I think punk music's the one style of music that's always been a weird animal to me because I don't get into it. I don't listen to it ever. I have tried. Just not for me, man, but I totally get why people like it.
Oh, yeah.
I totally understand it, man. It's like I've never not liked something, but totally understand why everybody who does, why they like it.
And it's amazing how many bands that we listen to that have been influenced by. They're not punk bands, but they were influenced by punk bands.
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, Skid Row.
Yeah.
Going back to
exactly.
who we were just talking
Big.
about, man.
Yep.
Skid Row's a big example of that, man. You brought up rap. You brought up hip hop. Let's talk a little bit about hip hop radio.
Okay. Okay.
Because you know me, man. I've always been.
You've
on.
always been a fan.
Right
I've
on.
always been into it, man. I've always been a huge fan of hip hop, especially G Funk. That was always my favorite type or subgenre. So, but what I want to ask you guys, how do y'all feel about rap artists and hip hop artists going into the Hall of Fame, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Because I have my take on it. I see Baker's got a take on it.
I'm getting antsy here.
I saw you kind of lean up toward the mic.
Starting to adjust.
Yeah,
in my
man. Everybody's
seats.
taking breaths and
Okay.
moving a little bit closer here. What do you guys think about it, man?
Beastie Boys, definitely,
Okay,
for sure.
sure, absolutely. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. What about Tupac Shakur?
Not so much.
I agree. I agree with that. Yeah, what do you think,
Well,
Baker?
I was gonna say with the Beastie Boys, maybe not so much early on, but they eventually evolved into a band that they played instruments.
Which they
I mean,
started.
yeah.
They started like
Well, yeah, I was
that.
gonna say it started. I mean, but like License to Ill, I think they didn't really play much.
No,
on that,
they just
but,
rapped.
But they were a band,
Right.
And a lot of stuff. Well, it was kind of leaned toward the rappy side. They did have a lot of stuff that had some rock elements, Fight for Your Right to Party,
Sure, man.
stuff like that. So I would agree with them. Tupac, yeah, maybe not so much.
Yeah.
I tell you, man, being the fan now, obviously being a huge rock and just a music fan,
Yeah.
obviously, man, the styles of music I really like, and I really like a lot of hip hop. Here's my take on it.
Okay.
I think hip hop music has come up enough and is popular. I mean, it's the most popular form of music right now.
Yeah.
It absolutely has been for at least a decade, maybe two at
Yeah.
this point. I mean, we can go ahead and say 20 years. Ever since Dr. Dre really hit with the Chronic and Snoop Dogg, all that G-Funk came out, it's been the most popular thing, or the most popular genre. I say it's time for their own. It's time to have their own Hall of Fame. Hip hop
here's the
deserves
deal.
it, man.
Okay.
Hip
well,
hop deserves it.
Well, look at it this way. Okay, it's called the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Right.
Okay. You got Metallica
Sure.
in there.
Sure.
Obviously, they were put in. Would you consider Metallica rock and roll?
Yeah, man. I consider it a subgenre. Yes.
That's the thing. There are so many things. Should it be maybe renamed? Because you've got so many subgenres of music that.
Well, I think, man, that you have. Well, first of all, I think you're going to have crossover because we even have crossover from the country in Rock and Roll Hall of
Yeah.
Fame. Elvis,
Yeah.
Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
And I think even and I see, or I think that when you have these later rock and roll groups who came out of the country scene, I think they deserve their place there, like Elvis.
Yeah.
Obviously, like the ones like Chet Atkins.
Mhm.
And I think hip hop, you can say the same thing, man. With the Beastie Boys, prime example. I'll give you two more groups that I think do belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Excuse me. And that's Public Enemy
Yeah.
and NWA.
And,
I think NWA should have been the last to go in, the last hip hop act to go into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It should have been the first to go into the Hip Hop Hall of Fame. I think NWA was that important and
Fair
was
enough.
that good
Yeah.
that they should have that honor to be the last hip hop. Tupac Shakur has no business. And I love me some Tupac,
Yeah.
man. Anybody knows me knows I love Tupac, man. Bro, man, all eyes on me. I tore that shit up back in the day,
Right,
man.
yeah.
I mean, that shit did not leave my CD
Yeah.
player. The only time I would take CD1 out was put CD2 in. That was it. It was a double CD set, man. That's the only time Tupac came out
Yeah.
of CD players when I was putting another Tupac in.
Yeah.
But man, you know, to me, he deserves his own, or the hip hop community deserves their own Hall of Fame.
Okay.
They deserve that recognition. So
Okay.
I do think there's some crossover.
Or change the whole thing. And just
Yeah.
put the music Hall
Music
of Fame.
Hall of Fame.
Well, that's just it. I mean, you have it right now. It's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and it's the loosest interpretation. It's the generic rock.
Right.
You know, anything that's not country music is rock and roll.
Right.
Which I think is kind of just to me it makes it bland. I mean, there's no real. I mean, if you want to have a hip hop Hall of Fame, hip hop rap Hall of Fame, and a rock and roll Hall of Fame, I think I don't know. I have a problem with, you know, LL Cool J and
Right.
Janet Jackson are probably going to get in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year, and Judas Priest and Iron Maiden are not.
Very true, man.
Okay.
And I agree with that 100%, man. I mean, 110% I hear that. And like I said, but you know, even like somebody like Janet Jackson, you know, kind of going back to what you were saying, Mike, where do you start getting those lines, man? Because Janet Jackson was not a hip hop artist. You know, she was a pop artist.
Yeah.
So, and she did use live instruments and everything.
Yeah.
Well, of course, some sampling, obviously, you
Yeah.
know, obviously as well. But that's a good, see, to me, that's like, where would Janet go? Where would Michael go? Is
Right.
Michael in the Hall of Fame?
Prince.
Where would Prince go? Now, if he's not in the Hall of Fame, he sure as hell should be. I don't know if he is or not. But let me
Yeah,
ask
that's
you,
true, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a fine line,
it's blurry.
but yeah, I
It's
mean,
blurry. It
yeah.
is. But let me ask you guys this, kind of in the same subject. Do y'all even give a shit about the Hall of Fame?
I think at one time the Hall of Fame was bigger than what it is. It was bigger than life.
Right.
Now I don't know that it's really that legitimate. I want to say legitimate
Good
because
Good
I know
word.
I've heard the stories about paying into it.
Oh, okay. Right.
You if you're nominated, you have to pay into.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, shit, man.
Yeah.
So I could be in the fucking Hall of Fame if I got enough money?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, why not?
Absolutely.
Why not?
If you're nominated, yeah.
I've always said, man, every day that goes by that Warren Zevon is not in the Hall of Fame. And, brother, there's a lot of people that believe that as well. You know, I'm in a very big community. But, yeah, man, I think the
But
Hall
you look at Metallica. Of course, you know, definitely they can pay their way.
Oh,
you know,
shit.
Yeah.
You know.
You know, they-
Even with Napster back in the day.
Yeah.
you know.
exactly. You know, yeah. So you're looking at these acts and artists that you know are very big, and definitely can back themselves.
They-
You know.
yeah.
Right. They can still get in it.
Right.
You know, to me, man, and I also think it has a little bit to do with, like, you know, political, you know, leanings as well. Because, you know,
Oh,
Ted
yeah.
Nugent will never get in.
No.
I don't give a
Oh,
shit,
right,
man. He
yeah,
will never. Ted Nugent
Yeah.
might as well just not even sweat ever getting in the Hall of Fame.
That's my thing. Is
You know.
my girlfriend and I went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame here last year, a couple years ago, and it's really cool to go through.
Sure.
All the memorabilia and things. It's just such a cool thing to see. But as an institution, yeah, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has lost so much respect for me over the years, and in who gets in and who doesn't.
And how.
And it's all, you know, it's all politics. Maybe not Republican Democrat politics, but politics within the industry that, you know, like you said, you know, it just delegitimizes the whole process when it's so biased.
You know, I'm always torn with it, man, because, you know, it's almost like when a band I like gets in, I'm like, hell yeah, Hall of Fame.
Right.
And then when a band that I like doesn't get, I'm like, well, fuck them, man.
Yeah.
They're not even legit anyway.
Right.
You know, I'm just
Yeah.
same thing with the WWE Hall of Fame. I'm the exact
Oh, yeah,
same
yeah.
way, man. It just depends on who they put in that year.
Yeah, exactly.
How I feel about them. You know, it's like before Skinner went in. I'm like, screw them. It's not real. If Leonard Skinner's not in there,
Right.
then they suck. And then they
Yeah.
put Leonard Skinner in. I'm like, well, okay, I like it now.
yeah,
and now
yeah.
I'm back on it. Well,
Okay.
if Warren Zevon's not in there, they ain't worth a shit, you
Yeah.
know. And so I kind of waffle on that myself. But I kind of want to get y'all's opinion on that.
I think it's one of those bigger than life things. You know.
And I think it's also cool to be like, hey, we appreciate what you've done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I think that has, to me, that's what I like about these Hall of Fames, WWE and the Rock and Roll. It's like,
Yeah.
here's something to say, hey, man, you've made it. We appreciate it. Which I'm like what you just said, Baker. Every day that goes by that Warren's not in there or Judas Priest is in there or Iron Maiden's in there, I'm like, then why the fuck are we even got this thing, man?
Well, and if you talk to a lot of the artists, and a lot of them are like, take Rush for example. If they're, it'd be a great honor, but they don't give a shit.
They don't get, and you got to say, man, Alex Lifeson's Hall of Fame speech is freaking epic. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah 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 blah. That's
Yeah.
all he did, man.
Yeah.
And you can see Geddy Lee just being like,
Yeah.
"Come on, man, what are you doing?"
Yeah.
But yeah, they didn't care if they got in.
They did. Dude, that's another one of those bands. And I know, like we brought up Rush a little earlier, man. I love Rush. I know you do too, Baker.
Yeah.
That was one of our first bands that we, kind of bonded on was Rush. I remember that from back in the day. And they were another one of those bands who just like Sabbath, they feel underground.
Yeah.
Even to this day, man, it's like if you're a Rush fan, it's like you're in the know and everybody else isn't. Even though everybody else, quote unquote, everybody that's in the know can fill these huge arenas.
Yeah.
So they're like Sabbath, man. They're definitely not underground. They're definitely
yeah.
mainstream, but there's that certain, hey, man, if you're a Rush fan, you're one of us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like you're in the club, man. It's like you're a clique.
Yeah.
It's not like you're a Luke Bryan fan or some bullshit like that. It's like. Which I don't know what the fuck's wrong with you if you're anyway.
That's right. You have a huge distaste for Luke Bryan.
I love me some Luke Bryan. That's how he talks. He sounds like a fucking Muppet, man. Every time I hear him talk, man, on TV, I'm like, God damn, who's this Gonzo? This motherfucker, man.
We have
or the Swedish Chef or some shit.
We have a country station in our little group of stations, and I hear liners from him all the time. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like, I expect him to have one of those mouths that kind of unhinge.
Yeah, like a Muppet.
Like Beaker or something like that.
Yeah, like a fucking Muppet, man.
Me.
Yeah. I'd much rather listen to Beaker. I mean,
Maybe like the Canadians on South Park. Yeah.
That's it, man. Yeah. Luke Bryan's a fucking Canadian. I fucking knew it, man. Bitty little eyes and flappy head. I knew it, man.
That's Jason Finger at P.O. Box.
Oh, bro. Man, I was picking on a girl. I didn't work with her. She was somebody who comes in where I work. She's part of the general public. And man, her ringtone went off, and it was some bullshit Luke Bryan, man.
Oh.
And I was like, "What the?" I didn't say what the fuck, but I was like, "Oh, what is that, Luke Bryan? Come on now, you better than that, dude." She got mad at me, and we were cool. I knew her. I mean, she come in and out. We talked all the time. That's why I felt comfortable.
Yeah.
Boy, was I fucking wrong. She was like, "Why you don't like Luke Bryan?" I was like, "Hell no, man." She got a little tense, man, but it worked out.
I will go on the record saying I'm perfectly fine with rap acts going in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame before Luke Bryan.
Oh, Jesus, man. I don't want Luke Bryan cleaning up the fucking trash at the Rock and Roll Hall, like we were talking about a little earlier at the Mount Rushmore. It's like, nah, motherfucker, you in the back.
Yeah.
Talk about being out. I don't think I've ever heard a Luke Bryan song.
Oh man, I've heard them like here. I've heard parts of them, here and there. I unfortunately, man, I worked on the road for a couple years, and a couple of guys that I would work with, they listen to anything. They weren't really big. I mean, they love music, obviously, but they weren't like a snob like I am. So they listen to some country, and I got to hear some of that and Sam Hunt.
Yeah. Oh God.
Brother, I would take Luke Bryan over Sam Hunt, if that tells you anything. Sam Hunt, I swear to God, needs to go hunt some fucking talent. Is what he needs to do, man. This guy, he's basically like Luke Bryan. He's a stripper, man. It's a male stripper that all the country chicks dig. And I mean, good for him, man. But, if you're wearing fucking body lotion and glitter, get the fuck off the Grand Ole Opry.
It's funny. You listen to Luke Bryan, and he's talking about T-Pain. I'm like, what the hell do you know about T-Pain?
That's what I'm saying, man. It's like... Dude, they use auto-tune, man, and drum machines. Once again, man, country has gone disco, man.
Oh, yeah.
It is so.
Yeah.
But I will say this about country music, man. In fact, Chris Baker, you turned me on to Cody Jinks. You posted something.
I forgot about that.
Yes, you did, man.
Yeah,
Baker's like, who, me?
I did post something about him.
Yes, you did. And I was like, I wonder who this guy is. Loved it, man.
Oh, yeah.
I love Cody Jinks. There is a really strong country underground right now, but it is underground.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of good country acts for country purists out there. You just got to really search them out.
You got to find it.
Yeah.
Once again, you can't get on the radio now,
No.
man.
Right.
That's the problem. Back in the day, hey, the radio would be like, this is Cody Jinks. You want to love this guy.
Yeah, check out this up-and-comer, but we don't have that
anymore. We don't have that,
because,
man.
like I said, radio doesn't want to be the hit makers anymore. They want to be the sure thing.
Right.
And let's let somebody else figure out who's going to be the hit, and then we'll just play it, whatever we're told.
Exactly. It's so corporate now.
Yeah, it is.
I tell you, I was watching a movie. The name of the movie is The Day the Music Died. It's talking about Clear Channel Radio. And no, Baker, I don't think you work for Clear
No,
Channel.
we do
Okay,
not.
all
I
right,
do
good,
not,
man.
so
So
we're
we keep
good.
going.
All right,
good
okay.
deal. They fucking suck, man. No. But no, man, this documentary was very critical
Yeah.
of Clear Channel, rightfully so.
Yeah.
But they had the lead singer of the Talking Heads. What's his name? David
Byrne.
Right. Yes, man. And I'm a huge fan of Talking
Mm-hmm.
Heads. But he said something to me that was really profound. He was like, when we were discovered, he was like, we weren't that good. He was like, but these record reps had faith in us.
Mhm.
He was like, they saw the potential. He was like, it wasn't to our third album that we really started coming up,
Right.
and really started coming to our own. He was like, you can't do that now. But back then, the radio stations would still play you. They would still help you out. But he's like, now if you don't go in with $1 million song right off the bat,
Yeah.
Right.
you're done, man. You
Yeah.
can't even get in the front door now.
Yeah.
He was like, if we were here today, we wouldn't have made it.
All right.
And that's a shame, man.
Yeah.
Because that band, once again, I'm a huge Talking Heads fan as well. Man, that band spit out some great music. I mean, just imagine of all these bands that were trying to come out today, we wouldn't have them.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know? And I think that's why it's in the state it's in.
Well, speaking of documentaries, I just watched one not too long ago. One of my favorite bands, L7.
Okay, yeah,
I
man,
absolutely
right.
loved L7.
Right.
Everything they did, and this
They were
is
a cool band, man.
this is a really good documentary. Just as far as what they had to go through, tours and record companies, and if
Being
you were
women, man, they probably had a lot.
for
of
sure,
other
for sure.
situations.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Obstacles.
but if you weren't meeting a certain number of records sold, I mean, you were just
Gone.
Oh yeah.
gone.
They
you were
didn't-
dropped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like they want to give you that option and opportunity, man, to hit that big record. You know what I'm saying? To make that hit album.
Yeah.
'Cause sometimes, man, it takes third or fourth album to really get
Yeah.
going.
Well, yeah, as I say, like anything, some of these bands when they're just coming out, they got to build up steam, and that's where you used to do that. You used to have your manager or somebody sending your demos and your albums out to radio stations. Here, please play this, and you don't do that anymore.
Hell, man, back in the day, you could get a little kickback. I know you would probably prefer those days.
I would love those days,
You
but
know? But seriously, man.
unfortunately, the FCC feels
Yeah.
otherwise.
Fuck the FCC,
Exactly.
man. Hey, man, we ain't on broadcasting. We can say that shit. Fuck y'all.
I think WKRP covered that whole thing back in the day on that show.
Yeah, they went in all that. Speaking of documentaries.
Yeah. But
But I tell you, man, when me and Chris were, because I think we've alluded to that we went to Gaston College together, but that's how we met.
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
how we were in broadcasting school. Baker went on to become, successful in it.
Mm-hmm.
I did not. I always said, man, that the people in those classes went one of two ways.
Uh-huh.
Either like you, Christo, who went on,
Yeah.
he obviously he's not in it anymore, but he got pretty big in it. Or you have people like me and Two Dogs,
right.
who just did not, did not make it, man.
Well, you had some great stories from your time over there at
Oh man, good segue, brother. Because kind of talking about how we could get the payouts or how DJs back in the day. Do you remember Miss Hattie Leaper?
Oh, Chatty Hattie Leaper.
Chatty Hattie Leaper. Let me give just a little background on Hattie Leaper. And Baker, correct me if I'm wrong with anything, man, but the way I understand it, Hattie was the first black woman in North Carolina radio.
Yes.
Not just Charlotte. I thought it was Charlotte for the longest time,
Yeah.
but it was actually North Carolina. She told us a story. You know what I'm talking about?
I think I know where you're going with this.
About Mr. I Feel Good? Yeah. We were talking one day. Hattie Leaper's lived a hell of a life.
Yes, she has.
Man, she brought in one day, and once again, Baker, see if you remember this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but she brought in a briefcase one day that had contracts. Do you remember that? It had record, like 45s with her name on
Yes.
it. And like pictures
Yeah.
of bands and stuff like this. So in other words, man, she was really into the local, well, not local, I'm sorry, but the national music
Right.
scene
Yeah.
for R&B. She was into R&B, the Motown
Mm-hmm.
sound, stuff like that, But we were talking about just some of her experiences. And she was like, the one thing that she hated is she missed Stevie Wonder's birthday party. And she called him Little Stevie Wonder.
Uh-huh.
She was still set and called him Little Stevie. And come to find out, the reason why, once again, Baker, my mind, may be going in different directions. But apparently she got to meet James Brown at this time. Now, James Brown and his manager, once again, Baker, like I said, correct me, stop me at any point, basically came to the radio station, gave the album or gave the single for her to play, maybe gave her a kickback or something, but they said, Hattie, what can we do for you? And Hattie says, "Oh, James, baby, you know what I want from you." No, bro, she shut up. As soon as she said that, man, she quit talking. Chris, if I'm lying, I'm dying. Every hand in that fucking room went up. Every single hand raised to ask a question. Like, and she was like, "I can't talk no more about that."
Oh my God.
Hattie Leaper, the way now I don't want to make any accusations here because she never
No.
came out and said anything.
Implied
But-
innuendo.
Yeah.
But it was
exactly.
very heavily implied that her and the Godfather's soul might have been feeling good together, if you know what I'm saying.
Wow.
But brother, you ain't never seen so many hands in
Oh,
the classroom.
yeah.
She was like, "Oh, seriously, yeah, me, man." Now, when she asked questions that related to our damn class, you wouldn't get that shit.
Right, yeah.
But you put up a little thing and that maybe her and James Brown hooked up. Man, you ain't, like I said, it was a wave, man. Everybody's like, hey, Hattie, what happened? What happened?
Yeah.
Dude, in fact, she may have actually stopped class. I think she may have even just ended class and be like, "Okay, we're done," or something.
Yeah.
But dude, man, I remember because that was the talk of the damn.
Oh, yeah.
Brother, that was the big thing. But man,
Yes.
Hattie Leaper was just so. That I always say that was my second mom,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, she's great. I mean, one of the most influential
Absolutely.
people in my radio career. I mean, just the
Absolutely.
stories she would tell,
Yes.
obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember
Yeah,
her
yeah.
tell stories about, I got a call the other day, and it was
Tina
Tina
Turner.
and Patti LaBelle
Yes.
or something like.
Wow.
Dude, they pulled her out of class. No, did they pull her out of class to take the call? I can't remember. I wasn't there for that, but I heard about it.
I remember her saying like it was something that happened over the weekend. or
Oh,
something
okay,
like
okay,
that.
man,
That's the
okay.
way I
Oh,
remember.
got
I mean, I
you.
could be wrong, but
But I think no, that sounds right. Maybe because I wasn't in class. Maybe
Yeah.
I got pulled out of class. But no, man. Yeah, I mean, she
Yeah.
gets a phone call from Tina Turner,
Yeah.
Patti LaBelle, man.
like it's no
Wow.
big deal.
Yeah, like I'm saying, hey man, me and Mike talked today.
Yeah.
You know, me and May Baker came down, which this is a big deal. Actually, this is cool. You know,
Right.
this is cool. But I mean, to her, it's like, oh yeah, Tina Turner, Patti LaBelle,
Yeah.
whatever. You know, I think she got a shout out, and whoever started Motown Records, like he mentions her or mentions her in his book.
Yeah.
I mean, just she was the real deal, man.
She lived a fantastic life.
Just, man.
And I remember her telling stories about how, like, she'd get her groceries and her gas all paid for
Yeah.
through trade, and
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
radio's the life for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now the FCC
And now
came
I'm
in and
like-
shut that shit down.
I'm like,
Boom.
I'm like, okay, 5,
Yeah.
25. Okay, I think I can get quarter of a tank of
yeah,
gas.
maybe, man.
Yep.
We got you quarters and pennies out and
Yeah.
shit. All right, we always try to get her to admit to smoking grass, too. That was something else. She never admitted it. But, man, once again, it was
Hey.
alluded to. How did she say it? She was like, she said, I might have caught some vapors or something like that. That's what tripped me out because I never heard anybody refer to secondhand
Yeah.
weed smoke as vapors.
Yeah.
She was like, I might have caught some vapors
Yeah.
here and there or something like that. It was so you smoking dope and fucking James Brown?
Yep.
Hey, man,
Wow.
that's why she was the shit, man.
Yeah, she was.
Hattie Leaper is a great woman. She's still kicking, man.
Yeah.
She's, in fact, I think she got some kind of award here about a year or so ago.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing something about that.
Yeah, man. So she's still. I saw her
Nice.
interview on TV, man. She's still doing good. She
Wow.
Yeah.
actually opened up her own broadcasting school for
Yeah,
a while.
that's right.
And now Hattie was, man. I'm
Yeah,
telling you,
that's
of all,
cool.
I've met a lot of great people in my life. I
Yeah.
really have. I've been blessed, man. I've met some wonderful people, and Hattie Leaper, I swear to God, is top of that
Yeah.
list, man. Just you can't go wrong with Hattie Leaper, man.
Oh,
Hattie,
yeah.
Hattie Leaper,
Hattie,
man.
Hattie.
And dude, I gotta get. I'm gonna tell on her. Hopefully, ain't nobody listening because she broke the law. But we were going.
So banging James Brown and maybe catching some vapors wasn't telling on
What?
her.
For real, I know. Well, I better stop
deeper
now.
than that.
I better stop
Yeah.
now. Dude, did you go to the Nashville trip with us, Baker?
No, I missed that.
I don't know if you missed it, brother. Maybe you did. Dude, that one got crazy. I won't go into all the details on that one. I just got to tell on Hattie real quick, man, because this just show you how cool Hattie was.
Mhm.
To my knowledge, it was the first and last field trip for the broadcasting class.
Uh-huh.
Rightfully so. But we were all underage. You know,
Yeah.
most of us.
Yeah.
You know, most of us were right out of high school. There was an older guy there, Ricky. I can't remember Ricky's name. You know what I'm talking about? God, I can't remember Ricky's last name, but he was older than us. He did the karaoke shows. He was the karaoke, real good guy, man.
Yeah, the name sounds vaguely familiar, but I can't put a face to that name.
I almost had his last name, man, because he had a real good little catchphrase. Anyway, he was over
Yeah.
21. He was a little bit older than us. So, and he was one of our buddies. You know, he was
Yeah.
in the clique with us. And we were all talking. He said, so Hattie talked to me about, taking you guys, or you guys going to Nashville. And she said, all them boys are underage. And he was like, yes, ma'am, I know. And she was like, so I want you to buy them boys whatever they want. No shit. And boy, howdy did he.
Wow.
Yeah, man. She
Nice.
straight up, he thought he was going to get a lecture and be told not to buy it. But she was like, I want you to buy them boys whatever they want.
Nice.
And boy, like I said, did he ever. And Baker, man, I hate you missed it, brother. But at the same time, shit got stupid. But, like I said, it was the first and last field trip. They were like, nah, nope. But it was with me, Stowe, 2 dogs. I mean, come on, man. You can't do that shit, man.
Yeah.
I do wish you were there, man. It was. I had to ask because I don't remember a lot of that. I just don't remember the trip, man.
I can't remember why I couldn't go on that, but yeah, I was not there,
Oh
unfortunately.
man, well, like I said, brother, I don't know if that's for the better or for worse. I don't know. Good memory is what I remember, man. But it got stupid.
Well, I know you've told me a couple stories from that. You've also told me a couple stories of when you were getting into radio.
Oh shit! Oh god damn it! Fuck! Gonna tell on Hattie Leaper, motherfucker. We gonna tell on you. It's karma. Oh shit!
What was one of your favorite experiences from that?
Well, I can definitely tell you my most, probably my most memorable one.
Okay.
Definitely was my favorite, man.
All right.
It pretty much ended my career in broadcasting.
Okay.
All right, man. What's that real big auto dealership in Charlotte off Independence? Scott something Toyota or Scott something Clark. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Pudsworth in the house.
Yep.
Yeah, man. So we were doing a remote. Okay. Now, a remote's just when a radio station goes out. Like you hear them on the radio, hey, we're out at Scott Clark or whatever.
Right.
You know, we're going to give out prizes, blah, blah, blah. Well, I had driven, we had a couple vans.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the vans was about like a U-Haul van, a smaller one. The other one was a pretty big vehicle.
Right.
Okay, it's my first time driving it. They're like, Jason, you're driving today. You know, come on, rookie. All right, man, whatever. So I drive it there. I get there. Everything's cool, man. Everything's straight. Everything's good. Well, man, we did have some issues. I can't remember exactly what was going on, but I had to move the van or whatever, or the truck to the other side. So the other guy that I'm working with, the guy who was a vet, you know, he'd been there for a while, is, well, I'm going to go get the antenna lowered, this and that, man, just driving around. All right, cool. So he lowers the antenna because it's a big antenna, you know, we're doing the live remote. Well, he didn't lock it down, man. So I get in it, man. I pull one of their fucking signs down, man. They had one of these like banners, you know, had like sale going on today or some shit, you know. And so, man, I snagged that motherfucker. No, it didn't rip it down, but it did. It snagged it, man, and it was hanging low, man. And, dude, I was really kind of over this job anyway. They weren't giving me a lot of hours. Me and my boss really didn't get along. We didn't like each other. And he didn't like me. I didn't like him. And which just so happened the motherfucker showed up. He never showed up, man. That motherfucker never showed up to any remotes ever, not once, not once.
Yeah.
Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. So anyway, man, the guy who was managing the car dealership comes up to me. He says, hey, did you pull that sign down? I was like, no.
What sign?
What sign? Oh, the one that was hanging there. Hell, ain't no sign there. One on the ground. Why do you put it on the ground? But no, man.
There it is.
Yeah, there. It's under the van here, brother. It's in the tire. But no. My defense, I didn't know I snagged it. I really didn't. He goes, well, I just saw you do it. I'm like, well, shit, I guess I did.
What'd you ask?
Yeah. It's like, well, fuck you, man. You tell me, you know. And I was a little bit smart ass back in, too. I probably did really say some shit like that. I was like, well, you tell me, motherfucker. But, so anyways, well, I'm going to tell your boss, I don't care. I mean, okay. Shit, tell him, hell, you fuck it. But,
Tell.
So, yeah, fucking rat. Goddamn snitch, man. But nah, man, so the boss showed up. Hey, how's it going? So it's great. And the manager said, hey, I need to talk to you. And I'm watching all this. I'm like, shit. And they talked, man. He didn't say nothing. He left. And I called up there Monday to find out my schedule. Nobody answered the phone. So I left him a message.
Right.
That was on Monday.
Yeah.
Left him another message on Tuesday. Usually I get a call back, like within an hour, you know, calling him back on Wednesday. So on Thursday, I said, well, man, I guess I'm fired. And my career in broadcasting came to an abrupt end. It was time to look for other options. That didn't include signs and banners and shit. You know?
Well, see, this would be like the first half of, or the first third of the '80s movies that would have been, your life.
I felt like Mahoney at the parking place, man. You know. Yes. I mean, what, that car?
Yeah,
What, that car in
car
that
in there.
spot? Is that your sign? Hell, I don't know.
Dickhead. Dickhead.
Yeah. yes. But nah, man, I tell you, dude. I will say this about getting into the broadcasting field. You got to bust your ass, man. You got to pay dues.
Yeah.
You do. Did you work for free?
No, I never worked for
Lucky?
free. Yeah,
Lucky?
yeah. I was gonna say that was one of my bugaboos, getting paid.
Yeah, I was going to say, what?
Yeah.
Hey, as you say that, I'm
Yeah.
kind of looking back like, for real?
But I did do some. I mean, I've worked overnight shifts
Right.
and on holidays because I started out part time,
Right.
and it was like, hey, when do you need me?
Yeah, right.
You don't need me, well, I'll be there anyway. Just
Exactly.
throw me a bone, and then just kind of to work my way up. And granted, I'm not at any sort of pinnacle or zenith, but I've been there long enough, and then doing what I love long enough that I don't make a living at it, but I've got some other things. I've got like a side gig with a publishing company
Oh,
out
cool,
of the town.
I didn't know that.
And they do I do a show and to interview some of their authors, and it broadcasts out of Minneapolis, St. Paul. So
Oh, cool,
I do
man.
that for them, and there's other things I'm using my talents to help supplement the old income, because radio doesn't pay a lot, but it's
That's something else that people don't realize.
it's
Right.
a blast. I mean,
Right.
I realized early on in my life that I didn't want to actually have to do any work
For
a
real
living.
job, quote
and
unquote.
so radio just seemed the natural thing for me.
The perfect progression.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to shoot for here.
Yeah, that's what I damn, man. I mean, because this whole day job shit, even though it's getting better, it's
Oh,
getting
yeah.
better, it's
Yeah.
getting better,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one thing, man. And also, the
I'd rather
pay,
stay with this side of it than
Y'all.
the other side of it.
any day, man. One thing I noticed when I worked in broadcasting, like I said, I did work for, it wasn't Clear Channel, I believe it was AM FM at the time,
Okay.
before they got bought out. And I would say this much, man. You seemed like you had one of two different kinds of people. Really cool, extremely cool, fun, accepting kind of people, or you just had snobs, man.
Yeah.
I noticed that, and there was not a whole hell of a lot of in between. That's why me and my
No.
boss didn't get along.
Yeah.
Because I'm an old country boy from Lincoln County, and brother, I wear it on my damn sleeve. I wear it as a badge of honor. This guy was not.
Right.
I think he was a little prejudiced toward country people, man. I mean, for real. I
Yeah.
really think that. And I've
He
noticed.
was definitely the villain in the '80s movie.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yes, man.
In the movie that is
Oh,
Jason
fuck
Bateman.
yes,
Yes.
man. This
Yeah.
is what was God, man, what was the guy in Police Academy, the asshole? Not Proctor, but Proctor's
yeah.
Oh shit! Check that out for us, Puds. The bad guy, man. Harris.
Lieutenant Harris.
Lieutenant Harris. Yeah. He'd be the Harris one.
Yeah.
He'd be the one shampooing his hair with damn super glue. I like to have done that to that motherfucker. Now I think I'm gonna look for him on fucking Facebook, man. Hey, man, here's some shampoo.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh. But
Yeah.
God, you really have to get that reference if you're listening to
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Because some people
Oh,
are like,
for
what
sure.
the fuck are they doing,
the
man?
fuck
What
are they
fuck?
talking
Oh,
about?
yeah. What? But other people are going to be like, yeah, that's funny.
Oh yeah. No, I want to be coming at Lassant.
Yes, yes.
At the podium.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But until you see Mahoney.
Oh,
shit. Oh, God.
okay.
Oh, God. Oh, man.
He did things. Mahoney.
Mahoney. Damn it, man. See, this is why I love doing the podcast. This shit not fucking fun, man.
Oh, geez.
Oh, shit. Well, man, we are starting to get kind of toward the end here, brother.
All
And I know
right.
we got to do our usual, brother.
You
We're going to put you
know.
on the spotlight, Baker. Yes,
Uh-oh.
man.
You know what time it is.
Yeah, it's that time, brother.
It's top threes.
Oh, okay.
All right. We'll go ahead and start off with top three Mahoney moments.
I just nailed them all in one. Yeah. Whoa, that song there?
Oh.
It's not my song.
All right. Whew. Let's go. All right. Top three movies of all time.
Oh, top three movies of all time. That's a tough one. Cool Hand Luke
Okay.
has got to be on there.
Nice, man.
Nice.
Nice.
I haven't heard that one yet.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I know it's kind of a little bit of maybe a fanboy thing, but The Crow.
Okay.
I have
love The
always
Crow.
loved The
Yeah.
Crow. I
Great
mean, Brandon Lee just, that's what we all remember him by now, and it was such a great,
It was.
It's
great
great.
movie to do
Soundtrack.
that.
The
Oh, the
soundtrack
soundtrack
was phenomenal,
so
man.
awesome.
Phenomenal.
I still listen to what you call it, the Nine Inch Nails song, Dead Souls.
Dead Souls.
Joy Division.
Joy Division.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Love that tune.
That was another band that doesn't get a whole lot.
Joy
Oh,
Division.
yeah.
Division was incredible.
I'm definitely the
loved 'em.
minority on that one, brother. I just
Loved it.
a lot of people did.
Well, it's good for a rainy day for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Definitely.
I have a. I'm not gonna say it. I have a quote for Joy Division, but I don't want to say it.
Oh my
man.
God.
All right, fuck it. I'll say it.
Oh,
Yeah, they're
no.
great if you like fruity suicide music, you know.
Well, there you go. There you go.
Not a big Joy Division fan, man.
Yeah.
No, I'm just not.
Yeah.
And I tried. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh Jesus, man. I just don't have enough razors and fucking veins, man.
No, if you research the actual name and the definition of the name, is a lot darker than that.
Well, damn, darker than slitting your fucking wrist.
Oh, my God.
God damn, bro. Once
Better
again,
believe it.
fruity suicide music, not
Oh.
for me.
All right.
No offense to the Joy Division
Yeah.
people out there. That's just me. It's just me.
All right.
P.O. Box.
Just me. Mahoney.
That's going to be our sampler, man. When we ever do get the sampler we want. And hey, we're taking donations, people. If you want this shit to get even sillier, send us $5, man. Because, man, the only thing we need is the toilet flushing sound. Mahoney. And oh, yeah. We're good to go, man. Send that $5 to Jason Finger, P.O. Box.
All right, that's number 2.
Yeah,
number
we got
two.
one more. We'll
Yeah.
get through this shit. We'll get through it, I swear.
Number 3, God, that's a tough one. Geez, I don't know. I want to say, God, Lord of the Rings.
That's a good one, man. Which one?
And yes, that still counts as one.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
fuck it.
Yeah.
Let's do okay.
Yeah.
I'm down
I
with
agree
that,
with
man.
that. I
I'm
agree
down
with
with that.
Okay.
Okay.
You're not gonna watch the first one with
No,
that.
exactly.
Watching all of them.
Oh, yeah,
I'll
I've-
give you that, man.
I've got
Absolutely.
the 3 extended versions,
Me
and
too,
I'll
man.
just start one night and
That's
just
like 4.
go-
keep going through until.
It's
Dude, that's
literally-
12 hours. I mean,
Yeah.
if you watch them all, man.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Or a little over, maybe, man, because they're at least 3.5 to 4 hours long.
Yeah, easily.
Yes, I mean, you're looking at least 12 hours. I've done it. I mean, I have,
Yeah.
man. I've done it.
I've got the set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah.
Great, man. That's a great top 3, man.
Yeah.
That's really good. Cool Hand Luke and the Crow, too, man. That's
Yeah.
that's
Cool.
some solid choices,
That's solid.
man.
Cool Hand Luke. I just
Yeah.
it's just you can't get better when it comes to like that rebel without a cause sort of archetypal character, and I just I love that. And Paul Newman. I mean, come on.
There, you're back at his prime,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah,
I mean, this
exactly.
one he was jamming, man.
Yeah.
A good-
scene was pretty funny.
yeah.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
No, that's some good shit, man. That's some good choices, man.
All right. Let's go on to top 3 musicians and/or artists.
This is the one I want to hear, man.
Yeah.
This is
Wow. Solo artists or bands?
I'd say either.
Either way.
Just
Um,
musical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, this is actually easier for me than, and this is probably not going to be. I wouldn't say these are artists or bands that I think are the best,
Right.
but probably the most influential in my life in different periods.
Absolutely, bro.
In junior high, Poison.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
They came out. They had that glam look. They had, just it was heavy, but it was poppy. Chicks liked it.
Yeah.
When I wore my little Poison pin to
They
school,
did-
they're
they
like,
dug
"Ooh,
it."
you like Poison?
Nice.
Yes, I do.
Hey, hell yes,
Nice.
man. Hell yes.
Yep.
And
That's a good. That's
yeah,
That's
and
good.
when it wasn't about music, it was about chicks back then.
Right.
Yep.
man. That was it, man.
Yeah.
That was it. Dude, guitars and chicks. Man. Guitars and girls. Yeah.
High school, the band Saigon Kick.
I love Saigon Kid.
Wow,
They-
I'd forgotten about
I
Saigon
fucking
Kid.
love
Yeah.
Saigon Kid.
Wow.
Man. That is a great band.
They're
Yes.
such an underrated band, especially the
Yes.
first 2 albums where Matt Kramer was singing. I mean, they were more alternative than the metal guys, but they were more metal than the
Yes.
alternative bands, and just so eclectic in the styles they played. And
That guitar tone.
Yeah.
There was something about his guitar tone
Yeah.
that was just so different. It was clean,
Yeah.
but it was so yeah, man. Saigon Kid, great,
Yeah.
great choice, man.
and when of course they had a bit of a falling out for many years, and they're finally back together doing some shows. Matt Kramer and Jason Bieler, the singer and guitarist. But when they're in sync and playing together, I mean, harmony wise, they
Oh,
just
yes.
knock it out of the park. So that's they're one of my favorite bands of all time, hands down. And then when I was in college, Brother Kane.
Brother Kane, cool,
Brother
man.
Kane came along, and they were another one where Damon Johnson, fantastic guitarist, fantastic songwriter, singer, but he, they changed their style. That first album was more just a down home rootsy rock and roll album. Then the next one with And Fools Shine On kind of got into a bit of a more alternative vein, and then Wish Pool was the third one, and kind of had some different sounds to that as well. Just a very eclectic band that really you can't nail them down as to one particular sound, and I guess I like that. Yeah,
I like that too, man. In other words, they don't put themselves in a box.
Exactly. And you listen to them and it doesn't feel like the same songs over and over again.
Right. Which that's some good choices, brother. Yeah, and honestly, I didn't expect those. I mean, I really didn't. Poison maybe, but the Saigon Kick, man, that just hit me out left field. I'm like, oh shit, dude. Yeah, they were great, man. I actually listened to Lizard about 2 months ago. I tried to mix up. That is such
a freaking great
God
album.
Almighty, man. Every song on it is just amazing.
Yeah,
dude.
exactly.
And
Not a bad song on it.
Oh no, man, you just put it on play, and I haven't listened to that album in probably 10 years. And I was just scrolling through my albums. I'm like, man, I'm gonna put this one on just to kind of bring it back, And dude, I was like, holy shit, I forgot how good this band was.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there was so much more than Love Is on the Way kind of pigeonholed them into the whole metal ballad thing. But there was so much more than that.
It was just a radio friendly.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to mention two bands here that I think that are viciously underrated. LA Guns.
Oh, absolutely.
Amen.
Absolutely.
And Faster Pussycat.
Dude, I'll give you that too, brother.
Yeah.
Yes, man. The founders of sleaze rock.
Yeah. LA trash metal.
Yes, sir, man. And you know what? I'm going to throw another band in because you turned me on to this, man. Even though, Mikey, you turned me on to the gothic scene and a lot of the gothic music that I ended up getting into a lot back in that day and still like to this day. But Chris Baker, you turned me on to Sisters of Mercy.
I was going to say, they would have been 4 on my list if I had the top 4.
I learned about these guys at the radio show because Baker's like, hey, have you ever heard these guys? I'm like, no. He's like, well, let's play some. And, that was something else I loved about our show is because I would get exposed to new music through you, and we would do it live on the air. That was cool, man. That was so cool. And Sisters of Mercy became one of my favorite, without a doubt, my favorite, I guess, quote unquote, goth band. If you can give them a genre, but man.
I'm pretty sure I had called the station at least a couple times and probably had you guys play this Corrosion, which is probably an 8-minute song.
Which we love those, man. We could go to the bathroom. I mean, we'll be back, man. You can go take a shit.
Yeah.
TMI, man. But seriously, we loved him long.
Oh, yeah.
Play Freebird. I got to take a shit. All right. Play the live one. It's going to be a bad one.
That's one. Yep.
But yeah, man, Baker turned me on to Sisters of Mercy, and man, that was just
Sisters of Mercy, man.
Yeah, Mike, didn't you come? I mean, you were in the station a few times with us, right?
No, I never did.
Really?
I went there one time. I think it was like during the day, and we just kind of hang out because we had nothing else to do.
Yeah, I mean that's what we do anyway. We're probably skipping out of work or something.
Yeah.
We do that shit.
Yeah, we would do that a lot.
A lot. That's why we didn't have jobs back in the day.
So
where's Jason at? He's sick. We'd be at the mall or in the fucking radio
sick.
station.
Yeah, sure.
Quote unquote.
Yeah.
You said today, Mike. Yeah, you said today. Yeah.
What are you doing? Hickory Gastonia today.
Or the radio station.
Yeah.
Man, I could have swore you were up at me and Baker before. I don't know why, man. I just always thought that. Maybe because you were just there, with us anyway.
Yeah.
Outside, doing everything else, man. Maybe I just thought you were there, but I could have sworn you was up there a few times.
No.
Man. Well, I'll be damned. Well.
Yeah, I know. We just knew. We all knew one another.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We wound up in the same place.
We were all, I was going to say, man, you didn't really see any of us in our circle without seeing the other ones that were in our circle.
Exactly.
Yep.
And that was such a great circle, man.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, me, you, Mike, the three of us here, Two Dogs, Christo, Smiley, E-Man.
Yeah.
You got to throw E-Man in there. God, I'm afraid I'm forgetting somebody, man, but I think that was about
Jay. Oh, I just got JJ and Jay, Big
Daddy Jay,
and he actually, I had to message him about. It was in the shop with the maintenance man.
Do what now?
It was Jay Bradford, Big Daddy Jay's his show on
the maintenance man.
The maintenance man.
That was it.
Yeah.
God darn
Yeah.
it, man. That was it.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
yes,
Yep.
man. And he played good shit.
Yeah.
I remember
Oh,
that
yeah.
now. Fuck yeah, man.
Yep.
But we had a great circle back then.
Oh
man.
yeah,
we had a good.
definitely.
And you know what's so cool?
And something was coming, you know, that we shared was music and wrestling.
That was the two.
I
Yeah.
mean, that was all of
That was
us.
it. And you know it's so funny, man, because we didn't even know that we were all wrestling fans until we all became friends through the music.
Yeah.
And it was like, wait a minute, you
Yeah.
you love wrestling as much as I do, and hell yeah, man. I mean, that was the thing,
Yeah.
dude. It wasn't that we just liked it; we all were like obsessed with
Yeah,
it. You know, and that's what was
exactly.
so cool about it. And it's weird how music and wrestling, you know, we talked about this before. It's weird how so similar that these two art forms really are.
Oh yeah,
You know, man, you have to have that ego. You know, you have to want to put that out there.
exactly.
And I think
Yeah.
that's why you have so many wrestlers that are musicians and vice versa. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's all about
You know,
showmanship.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. That's it exactly.
Rock and roll connection.
That's
Rock
it.
and roll wrestling connection. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rock
that
and
was
wrestling,
yeah, rock and wrestling was just
Well, hell, even Hulk
It
Hogan
always
was a
fit.
bass player, man.
Exactly.
You know, who tried out for Metallica.
Yeah.
Apparently, did y'all ever hear that story?
No,
Yeah,
I
he was
did.
talking about he was going to try out for Metallica or some shit. It's Hogan. He probably said, "Well, I turned down the gig, brother."
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know, and I love Hulk Hogan, the wrestler of Hulk
Yeah.
Hogan.
Yeah.
Terry Bollea, you know, jury's kind of out on him, brother. Hulk Hogan, the
Vin-
character,
Vin-
oh fuck yeah, man.
Vince just made a better offer, brother.
Yeah, really, man.
Yeah.
Well, I played my version of Enter Sandman, and you know, they didn't go for it, brother.
Hanging and
they didn't go
banging,
for the
brother.
finish, brother.
Hanging and banging. Which brings us to the last top three. Your top three favorite wrestlers.
Oh, this is a little tougher because it's hard to narrow it down to three. First off, probably Chris Jericho.
Okay.
Nice.
Hell yeah, man.
I just
Damn good
I
choice.
loved him because he one can go in the ring.
Oh yeah, man.
You
Charisma,
know,
man. He's
yeah,
so much charisma.
got so much charisma and humor. He can add humor
Yeah.
to a promo like anybody.
The man of 1,004 holds.
I know.
To this day,
Armbar.
dude. Yeah. I mean, what better way
Yeah.
to feud with Demon Lincoln, the man of 1,000 holds,
Yeah.
than to be the man of 1,004
Yeah.
holds? That was
Yeah.
he beat him by 4.
Yeah.
To this day, that's one of my favorite angles, man.
Yep.
And it was
And he's still going.
yeah.
He's still going.
Dude, I think it's a safe statement to say if not, I don't think he's the best out there right now or the biggest, but damn, he's in that tier.
He can still.
He can still go,
He's
man.
still reinventing himself
Yeah.
to this
Yes,
day.
absolutely, man. I would dare say he's iconic.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say you look and see what he's doing in New Japan right now, and just the look is so much different than anything
Yes.
he's ever done.
Yeah.
And it's it lends itself to, like you said, he can reinvent himself like no other.
Just a constant evolution,
Yeah.
man, you know. But hell yeah, good choice, man.
So yeah, he would probably have to be my top. Bret the Hitman Hart.
Okay.
I mean, the excellence of execution.
Best there ever was.
Yeah, I mean, I just
is or ever will be.
I
brother.
just he always, even when he was like one of the first heels that I liked him.
Mhm.
He
Right.
had this
Yeah.
slick, leather jacket wearing, even though he was wearing pink.
right.
He made pink seem badass.
He
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
He
He
really
had the,
did, man.
He had the
Yes.
sunglasses,
Right.
and I just, I've always been a fan of his. I mean, he's, a great in-ring technician.
Oh yeah, man.
And maybe not the best ever on the mic,
No, but he didn't need to be.
But he didn't need to be.
Right.
He spoke in the ring.
And I think his lack of promo skills actually kind of added to his gimmick. to
Yeah,
be honest
exactly.
with you, man,
Yeah.
Because he was known as that technician, not a talker.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
Which
the
worked
whole,
out good
the
for
whole
him.
hitman vibe,
Yeah.
the silent but deadly
Amen.
sort of
Right.
angle. I mean, that worked for him.
Absolutely, man.
And I'm gonna have to break the rules here. It won't be the first time I've ever broken a rule, but
or the
Good.
first one ever broken here, brother.
because I'm gonna go 4.
That's man, that is totally
Hey.
fine, man. We can't let you do that, Baker. We're going to have to stop you right now, man. No, get out now.
Let me tell you something, brother.
4
Mahoney.
Proctor, get him out of here. Oh, damn it, man.
But number 3 would have to be the Ultimate Warrior.
Oh, no shit. Really,
Yes,
man. Okay.
I loved
Okay.
him back in the day. Granted, not the best in ring,
No.
but he had a look.
He did.
and an energy.
And I loved his promos.
I was gonna
loved
say, you know, everybody knocks on his promos how they're
loved
unintelligible, but if you listen to any Macho Man Randy Savage, the cream rises to the top.
Yeah, they were out
And-
even with Hulk.
and-
Sometimes
yeah.
Hulk would go off on a tangent, like,
brother.
yeah,
Depending on how
whoa.
much cocaine they had that day.
Right. What in the hell are you guys talking about?
It's called cocaine.
But he just-
and they're on a lot of it.
To me, he just kind of epitomized that metal
Sure.
feel of the '80s. You know, the music he came out to was
True.
metal. and-
He's wide
Yep.
open,
and
man. Yeah.
you know, he comes down there, he's shaking the ring. He's got the long hair. I mean,
The face paint,
For-
man,
for-
the war
for-
paint. you know.
If the Ultimate Warrior could have had say like a popular song, not an in-house WWF song, it would have been like "Kickstart My Heart" by
Yeah.
Motley
Oh,
Crue,
yeah, man.
just going down the road.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah,
I could actually see
Yeah.
that, man,
And
and it
for-
would work.
yeah, for a long-haired
real.
kid that was digging that kind of music at the time, he just, I loved the Ultimate Warrior.
And you know, even speaking about his in-house music, dude, that in-house music was pretty badass.
Yeah, exactly.
was.
I mean, for all the in-house
Yeah.
stuff, man, that
Yeah.
was some of the best music that
Oh,
they
yeah.
had was for Ultimate Warrior, man. I mean, it was just
Yeah.
so. I mean, it was on.
It got
point,
you going.
Man. Amen,
Yeah.
brother. What was that one match? I think it was a Wrestlemania, maybe, where he ran to the ring, but he said he about got blown up because of such a long
because it
run.
was
You know what I'm saying, man?
such a haul.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
man. Was it WrestleMania 6? It might have been WrestleMania 6. Kind of going back
No.
to.
Well, yeah,
Or it was the Survivor Series. Man, I don't know, man. I just
Can't
know that
remember
there was
offhand.
one. And I remember watching the footage, and you could
Yeah.
tell, man,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
running like
he was
on a-
gassed by the time we got to the
Ooh,
ring.
bro. Yeah, this was a
like-
lot longer than I
Yeah.
thought. Oh,
Maybe I
my.
should have did the golf cart after all.
Ah.
But we got about halfway there. Say, hey,
Yeah.
somebody give me a ride. All right, man. So who's your?
But before my bonus one, Undertaker.
Gotta give him to the Undertaker.
He was
Yeah.
another one where
Yeah.
he was one of those. Even when he started out and he was a heel, it was just like he just had this great look and this
Yep.
silent but deadly feel
Mm-hmm.
to him that you just couldn't help but like. And again, he's kept a similar gimmick, but he's reinvented himself
Yeah,
over the
he
years.
sure
and
has.
and
He's
I
a
just,
larger than life
Oh,
character,
absolutely.
you know.
Oh, iconic.
Yeah.
For sure. And man, very metal. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a damn metal gimmick.
Oh,
man.
yeah,
I
that
mean,
too,
it's
yeah.
true. You know, that might be
That's
the
true.
most metal gimmick.
it was about that
honestly.
time, so yeah,
Yeah.
it was kind of what I
Yeah.
was digging at the
Yeah.
time.
And I'll say this, man. I don't think anybody else could pull off that gimmick like Mark
Oh,
Callis did.
no,
I mean,
yeah.
anybody else, it would have been a joke.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm a
Yeah.
complete believer of that, man. If anybody else other than Mark Callis did the Undertaker, we wouldn't be
Oh,
we
yeah.
would put the Undertaker in the same categories we put Duke the Dumpster Drosy in.
Yeah.
Or the Goon.
The
or something.
Goon.
The Goon.
Yeah.
You remember the Goon?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
God.
I
damn.
love hockey. I mean,
So did the Goon.
two of my favorite things, fornicating and hockey, because they're the two most fun things to do in cold weather. But the Coon, I was
I
like,
love
are
it,
you
man.
effing kidding me?
And that was what Bill Irwin.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Who was a good worker, man.
Yeah.
He was a
Wild
great
Bill
wrestler,
Irwin
man,
was,
and-
was an ass kicker, man. He was so good.
and then they gave him a hockey stick.
Oh, hell.
And those boots that had like padding underneath to
Yeah.
look like blades, and he's wobbling down the.
Yeah, it's like he's
Oh,
skating.
God.
God damn.
That was horrible.
But I swear, man, if anybody else would have been in that role
Yeah.
of the Undertaker, we
Yeah.
would have this exact same.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all know that Undertaker
oh,
guy,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Well, that was that was them back then. I mean, for every hit, they had 10 misses.
That's true, man. That is
That's true
absolutely
enough.
right, man. WWE,
I mean, you know.
for real, man. It was like that, dude. They
Yeah.
swung for the fences every time,
Yeah.
man. And I say they missed more than they hit, but goddamn those hits.
Those
Oh,
hits were
yeah.
huge.
Hits, man. They
Yeah.
were big. Well, guys, we've gone over 2 hours. I think this may actually be the longest one we've done yet.
I
man.
know it is.
And I could go for 2 hours more, man.
I
but
probably could.
But man, I got to get home, give me a little something to eat, and get this damn.
It's about
production
bedtime, ain't
done.
it?
It's getting close, man. Yeah, we started at 12 today. Jesus, man. I'm over here yawning and shit, and I'm like, goddamn, I'm falling asleep on the way home.
I got the rest of the day. I'm off today, man.
Yeah, Mike's like, fuck it, let's do
Yeah,
it.
let's go.
Nah, man. I
Want to do
guess-
another show?
Rock and Roll Radio, part
Yeah,
2.
yeah.
So, what's news?
We're going to talk about Police Academy?
Yeah, nah, we can do that shit.
Mahoney?
We should have just done the whole thing on Police Academy.
That
really,
would be-
man. Hey, next time you're in town,
Exactly.
let's do one on Police Academy.
Sounds
Yeah.
great.
Okay, well, let's book it right now, man. You heard it here on the podcast.
That's right,
Next time
that's
Chris
right.
Baker in town, let us know. We're going to do it on Police Academy.
Yep.
Man, goddamn it. Now I really can't fucking wait, dude. Now.
We'll talk about Mahoney, Tackleberry.
Guys,
love-
Jones.
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 Jones is still.
Hightower?
Hey, I'd love to have Jones on here.
Dude, I would. Dude, come on. I'd actually trade Chris Baker for that one. I ain't even gonna lie. Maybe
That's
not.
a fair
Oh,
trade.
no.
I would definitely
Well,
trade Pudsworth.
Let's do
Definitely
that.
trade
Let's do
Pudsworth.
that. Unless you can do like the sound effects.
Can you do the same? Nah, I ain't happening. Pudsworth's like, motherfucker, ain't in my job description. Do your own fucking sound effects, man. Get that
Yeah.
sampler.
Yeah.
But, well, guys, man, this has been great. Baker,
Yes,
thank
it
you.
has.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank
man.
you so much.
Thank
coming
you
here,
for
man.
having me.
Yeah.
I've been
Brother.
looking forward to this for a long time,
Me
and
too.
from the first time I heard you guys do this this podcast, I was like, man, I want to be a part of that in some small form or fashion. And thanks for having me here,
Brother, I got just a quick story, man. When Baker first reached out, said, "Hey, man, I'm gonna be in town. Can I come and hang out in the background?" He didn't even want to be on the show.
Yeah, I was
he
like,
just
I'll
wanted
be
to
a
hang
live
out.
studio
I was
audience
like,
of you.
what? I was like, what? No, motherfucker, you're gonna do it.
No.
I'm taking off.
We're gonna make you work.
We're gonna make you work, motherfucker. Wait a minute, ain't you a DJ? Don't you know?
Yeah.
That's almost like, going to cook. Like Gordon Ramsay comes in your kitchen and don't want to fucking cook. No, motherfucker, you better grab a damn frying
Right,
pan
right.
or something. We
Who
make you
doesn't
work.
have to?
Do what?
Gordon Ramsay doesn't have to.
Well, true.
That's most of the show is him not
Not
cooking.
cooking. Yeah. I need a better example.
Yeah.
Well, brothers, once again, big thank you, man.
Thank you
sir.
for having me. I
Absolutely,
appreciate it.
man.
We appreciate it. Well, Mike, brother, you got anything you want to end us with, man?
I'm good, except more Mahoney.
More Mahoney.
Well,
Baker,
let's see it happen.
Definitely. Baker, you got anything you like to end us with, brother?
Oh wow, I put me on the spot here.
Once again.
You can catch me on. No.
Hey, man, anything you do want to plug, man? Anything?
Well, I
I
was
mean,
gonna
we got
say-
5 listeners, brother. They would love to hear it.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, you can
Well,
stream.
3. Me and Mikey count.
Yeah, that's true.
Pudsworth.
2.
Mahoney.
ForeverNorthwestPA.com. Go to the website, click on Rocky. That's where you can stream us live on there, or you can download the mobile app and take us on your mobile device. But you can catch me weekdays. Right now, weekdays noon to 3. They kind of bounce me around because they can.
They
So-
can. So they do. Well, once again, man, this has been great. This has been a blast, man. Had fun at breakfast. Had fun doing this.
Oh yeah,
This
I've been
has
loving
a-
every minute of
This
it.
has been awesome, man. And the only thing I want to say, I want to give a special shout out to the band Wrestling. The hit single that they let us play today, WrestleMania 6. Within the next couple of days, I'm going to put some information up how you guys can track them guys down. Go to their Facebook page, like their Facebook page. If you got the money, buy their CD, man.
We'll
These
put up a
guys,
link for
well,
it, yeah.
absolutely, man. We'll get all these links up in the next couple days. If you got the money, man, help them out. They're local. I mean, excuse me, they're independent. They're not local. They're out of the country.
Yeah,
But
Unless there's a fiddle in North Carolina, I
they
don't
might
know
be,
about.
man. Yeah, they're gonna hit me
Yeah.
up and say, "Hell, motherfucker, we're right outside of Kaiser." What? You know, what? Goddamn. But no, man, a very extra special thank you to those guys for allowing us to play that song. Man, that song was jamming, dude.
Yes.
I'll be playing that son of a bitch all day today, off and on. But I guess that's all I got to say, man. If you guys are good, we're gonna go ahead and shut her down. And I guess until next week, y'all Puds have a good one.
Mahoney.
And not only that, David, I understand we're right at the end of our program.
No, we have got to
This
go.
has been a great event.
There's some people out there that hate us for this.